In a world where war never ends, one man carries the weight of a generation, survivor of the battlefield, bringing you hard truths and hot lead, reviews from the locker, and trips to the meat grinder. Now he's taking you behind enemy lines, not into combat, into truth, stories from 1st Recon Battalion, with no BS conversations. Marine veteran Brad Iceman Colbert, where legends tell it like it is. This is not just a podcast, it's a mission.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Carry On Podcast. I am Brad Colbert, the Iceman. I have a very good friend of mine in the studio today, Andrew Priddy. He is a former Marine, former reconnaissance platoon commander, and six-time cancer survivor whose latest book, Living Hard, Saved by His Grace, is just hit stores last month. I'm excited to talk and catch up and listen to his story. So, Andy, how are you?
I'm very good, Brad. I want to say that I'm blessed and I'm thankful that I'm here.
Nice.
We've had this relationship for well over 15 years, and this is a long time coming, but I'm happy we're finally at this present time doing this.
Yeah. How long has it been? When was the last time that you and I have seen one another?
I was in Georgia almost 14 years ago.
Yeah. It's been a long time.
Yeah, back during my addiction times, you saw the bottles at the start of the day and what I finished, but thankfully I'm free and clear of that.
No, I think that's awesome that we've had a chance to catch up and be in each other's company again. I definitely want to jump into the details of the book and the adventures that you've been on over the last 14 years. But I like my stories to start at the beginning. So let's go back, and I want to talk a little bit about your childhood. I would like to hear a little bit about what led towards you selecting the Marine Corps and your commission.
No, I appreciate that. So, first and up front, I'm an Army brat. My father was in the Army for 34 years. He was a dentist, restricted line, if you will. Was born in Columbia, South Carolina. Don't remember it. We moved to England. Don't remember that. I do have videos of me talking as a little kid, dot-e, with the accent. Then we moved to Mannheim, Germany, and then Berlin for 4 years, where I went to my primary schools. That was my first language, actually. And a funny anecdote to the story is when I took standardized testing in like 2nd and 3rd grade, I was 99 percentile in everything. My spelling was 25 or 30%. It hasn't changed to this day. I still suck at spelling. But continued to move every 3 to 4 years as military brats do. Korea for 2 years in Seoul. Then Podunk, Georgia, right around here at Fort Gordon in Hinesville. We were there for 4 years. And then Washington, D.C., where I went to high school. And I was in high school 94 to 98. My family is staunch Catholicism. I'm a Christian, huge fan of Christ. But I went to a Catholic high school called Our Lady of Good Counsel in Wheaton, Maryland.
I know where Wheaton is. Not familiar
Wheaton.
with the school.
We lived in the old Walter Reed Army Medical Center in Northwest D.C. It's now closed. We went up Georgia Avenue every day to go to school. But befriended 3 close homies, boys, Skylar Sarr, Brian Daly, and Michael Kionis.
It's amazing that you still remember the names.
Oh, my God. I'm still very close with Skylar. So he's the strength and conditioning coach after times at UTEP here in Texas. But he's a strength and conditioning coach and wrestling coach at our alma mater Catholic school. It's now moved from Wheaton to Olney, Maryland. It literally looks like a JUCO now, and it pays like a very expensive university. I think it's $15,000 a year. It wasn't that much when I went there. But anyways, we would hang out every weekend. It's funny. I would leave D.C. and go to either Skylar or Michael's house in Olney, Maryland, spend the weekend there, and then come home. And when I was 17, so 1997, we're watching Top Gun for probably the 1,000th time in my life. The first time I saw it was in 1986 in Germany.
Did you see it in the theaters or you see it at home?
I saw it when I was 6 years old in Germany. And I remember this. It was a funny circumstance. My babysitter, when the Kelly McGillis and Tom Cruise scene got a little racy, her hands came over my head in the movie theater and covered my eyes.
So
But I
you did
was
see
I
that
was
theater.
watching that only in Mike Keonis' basement. Really a cool spot pad. He had a pool, a trampoline set. I mean, just the coolest place we had downstairs, the run of the house. But I was watching and I was like, I want to do that. I want to fly jet aircraft.
Yeah.
And to throw this out there, I was a GO bachelor my senior year in high school. My dad got reassigned down to Fort Gordon. I said, Pops, I'm not leaving my senior year in high school. So he had a
Sure.
good friend that was also at Walter Reed Army Medical Center. His name is General Ronald Blank. He was actually the Surgeon General of the Army at that time, a 4-star, but I lived in their basement. So I went home and contacted a recruiter, and we all know young men that we talked to contacted a recruiter and went and talked to them, and they were nice. And they told me, no, kid, if you want to fly planes, you need to get a degree and try ROTC.
I'm really surprised that they
I
actually told you the
know.
truth
Right.
and did
And
not
they
just reel your ass in right there.
100%
Yeah.
didn't make me go on and be
Anything else?
right.
Yeah.
Boot camp was not.
Yeah.
I'm really blessed and thankful for that disposition. But I immediately started applying to the Naval ROTC. Granted, Top Gun was about naval aviation, and I was awarded a scholarship. And another funny part about the story, you had to put your universities where you wanted to go. And one of a buddy in high school, name is Mike Dewey. His older brother was at the University of South Carolina. South Carolina is right next to Gordon, about an hour and 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
Figured I want to go down and visit. So I said, Mike, can you call your brother? Sure. Brian allowed me to go down there. So I drove down to University of South Carolina for one weekend. And I'm not kidding, and I'm being absolutely transparent and honest here. The women in D.C., very nice. Not the prettiest girls in the world.
Yeah.
But when I went down there and went out for 2 nights, they fell off the trees down there. And it was really a cool, fun time. And listen, I've got 2 older sisters and a mother. I like women. And that's why I put it number 1 on my application. I can't lie. But I was going to the University of South Carolina after that visit.
But I mean, you're not alone. I think there's probably thousands of young men who chose their college based off the sororities that were there.
Well, I was a double major in business and finance. And Darla Moore School of Business, she's one of the first females that was awarded a membership at Augusta National with Condoleezza Rice. Very good business school, and academics were very important to me in my undergrad and throughout my whole life. So it was a good choice, regardless if it was shallow for my decision to put it there number 1, but it ended up working out very well. And plus it was close to my parents. So that was another benefit of it.
And as a naval ROTC candidate.
Yep. So it was Naval ROTC, right? So I got to the unit, University of South Carolina. I just didn't fit really well with the Navy, I didn't think. Personally, I liked the Marines. We had the MECEP, so Marine Corps Commissioning Program for enlisted Marines. You come there, you become an officer.
Yep.
Felt like I aligned better with them. And I'm going to be honest, it was a little bit selfish, but I found out that through the Marine Corps program, I could get a guaranteed flight contract if I passed all the physicals and some aviation tests.
Yeah, that's right.
So I jumped on that, and I became a Marine Corps candidate.
And what year was this that you applied for that program?
I think that was 99. That was probably my sophomore year. So I wanted to transition over from being a naval student or a naval member of the NROTC to being a Marine Corps candidate at University of South Carolina. And that was a pretty easy transition. That meant I would go to OCS my junior year.
Right.
And then once you become an officer, you go to TBS. But the cool thing about getting the guaranteed flight contract, at TBS, they break up the graduates into quality spread. You got 3 tiers.
Just explain what TBS is. Not the whole thing, but what does the acronym
The
stand
basic school. It's the introductory training for Marine Corps officers that are commissioned into the USMC, where they go and learn everything and anything about every job you can do in the Marine Corps.
Okay.
And then they get their requisite jobs and they go out to the fleet and do whatever they do.
And so go back to the 3 tiers and the ranks. Yeah.
So they basically break up your class into 3 tiers. So if you're number 1 in the first tier, you get your choice of job that you want. If you're like 5th or 6th in the top tier, you might get administration, a job you don't want. But hey, it's called the quality spread and the needs of the Marine Corps. In the second tier, the top one gets a choice. In the third tier, third tier is not the best of the best, but it is what it is.
And it's to prevent the best and brightest from sort of being congregated in one particular MLS, the sexy MLSs.
100%. I mean, it's the needs of the Marine Corps, and it's what you had to accept. But I was thankful that I knew what I was doing. It didn't matter. I wasn't part of that.
But you excelled at TBS regardless of whether or not you had a flight contract. I have no doubt.
Yes.
Yeah.
TBS was the big suck for a reason. A lot of time in the field, a lot of studying for copious amounts of exams and whatnot. It was a kick in the balls, but it was good. And also during that time, I have to bring up, the DC sniper was active.
Right. Yeah.
I
at
remember
that
going
time.
out to dinner. We'd get out of the car and run to the restaurant. Seriously, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's
You have no idea
I'm
where you-
laughing about it, but it's not funny. I mean, that
Nope.
it is. Yeah, it's tragic that sort of thing takes place, and
it is.
yeah. So you graduated college
2002.
2002, and immediately went into aviation.
So no, graduated college, had to go to TBS, the basic school.
Mhm.
And after basic school, went to flight. Well, I went to actually in Manassas, Maryland, indoctrinary flight school. It was actually a pretty cool program. You haven't done any aviation, but you go up and fly Cessnas. You learn communications. That's a big thing. You learn basic flight skills and taking off and landing. I did that for a couple of weeks. You just get basic, stuff away.
Yeah.
But when I graduated TBS, I was shipped down to Pensacola, Florida to go to primary flight school and fly the T-34, which they had been flying since 1933. They
Right.
just recently got rid of that with the T-6, the new one, which I think they're kind of bitches because now they have ejection seats in their primary plane. We didn't. We had happles and lapples. That's high altitude power loss and low altitude power loss.
Yeah.
And you had to learn how to put that prop plane and land it on the ground.
Right.
You didn't get to eject.
No.
But that's okay. Every group of Marines, 70s, 80s, 90s, we always had it tougher and harder. It's the common thing. Whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm just
Always stronger than the generation.
sitting on my
in front of us.
soapbox. I'll get off of it. I'm just
That's-
kidding. It's a good thing they have ejection seats.
Yeah.
But so primary flight school, and I really have to say this. So I knew going in there that I wanted jets. And when we got introduced to our squadron commander talked to us and he said, listen, if you guys want jets, you need to get a certain NSS, Naval Standard Score. Every flight is graded with aboves, belows.
Mhm.
You got to get a 65 or higher to fly jets. So I knew at that moment, all right, I want to get a 65 or higher because I want to fly jets.
Right.
A lot of those student naval aviators, every night we're out drinking, partying in Pensacola, having a good time. I was in the local universities, studying my ass off in the pubs, trying to do everything. And for 6 months, I busted my tail at primary flight school. With everything that I've been through, cancer-related, which we'll get into, my on-wing, that's the instructor pilot that flies with me until I solo the aircraft, guess what his call sign was? Tumor. He didn't have cancer. He just had a cyst on his forehead, and somebody popped it in a bar one night. But when I went into the room to get my NSS at the end of the primary flight school, he goes, Priddy, proof's in the pudding. I said, well, what the hell is it, Tumor? He goes, your NSS is a 76. So I knew I was flying jets and I wanted to, and I got my first choice.
Yeah.
I chose Meridian, Mississippi. I could have gone to Kingsville or Meridian. I just chose Meridian, Mississippi, I think, at the time, whatever. John McCain, God rest his soul, that's where he was winged. So after primary flight school, I knew I was going to Podunk SU Meridian to fly the T-45.
Nice.
That would be my next stop.
And what year was this?
Late 2003, early 2004.
So during that time period, 9/11 had occurred.
Well, 9/11 occurred. I was in college. I remember we were at Gibbs Court. That's one of the cafeterias in South Carolina. I was there with my good buddy, Jonathan Vergakis. He joined the Marine Corps with me. He was at TBS. He became a grunt, did some fighting in Afghanistan. We knew we were going to war at that point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we all knew it, and he knew it, and he got 03 at TBS. That's infantry officers course. So, yeah, we were at war even during my flight school. You were 2004. Where were you, buddy?
Oh, I was
In the shit.
Yeah. So did your attitude towards your flight school change in any way because you knew the country was at war? Did anyone change and take it more seriously, or did the training change before and after?
No, that's a really deep question. And you know what my poor brain has been through?
Sure.
I can't recall anything was like that. It was just, I know I wanted to get over the fight as soon as I could.
Yeah.
And jets was the best way to go, provide support from
Yeah.
30,000 feet or higher.
And what were you hoping to fly? I mean, there's really only one jet in the Marine Corps.
F-18 and Harriers.
Yeah.
And you could fly the PIG, the Prowler, so the ECM, electronic countermeasure aircraft.
Yeah.
But the cool thing was they measured you, and being 6 foot and my weight, I didn't fit in the Harrier and the Prowler, so I would be flying F-18s if, once I finished advanced strike where I was at Meridian, Mississippi.
So take us through Meridian, Mississippi, because that's really where the story begins.
So ground schools is basically the same as it was in Pensacola, was doing well there. The flights were great. But around the 10-month mark, I started to have these headaches. And I started to puke from these headaches. So I went to local flight surgeon in Meridian, Podunk U. They said, yeah, you got a sinus infection. They gave me a Z-Pack, took a Z-Pack. And we progressed to more training and more tests. And I was in low-level navigation. So one part of the training pipeline is low-level. You fly at 500 feet. And I was during the exam. I threw up 4 times, massive headaches. Had to ask students in there, like, what's the answer to this question? When I got out of that test, I was like, there's something wrong. I need to go to an ER. Drove my ass to a local ER in Meridian, Mississippi. And now after doing a CT scan, the doctor came out and he said, kid, I don't know how you're still walking right now. You got 2 massive brain tumors. And think, I mean, life just came right in front of me. Everything's shut down. Fuck. Got put in an ambulance, driven to Jackson, Mississippi, an hour away. They did a biopsy there.
Did they call anyone?
They did. They called my parents. Okay. Sweet parents, Mom Kay and Father Bill. Pretty sure they both flew down. They saw me in the hospital there. And then they flew me commercially up to Navy Bethesda.
Yeah.
Which is where they actually found, they did a biopsy in Jackson and confirmed it was non-Hodgkin CNS, so central nervous system lymphoma, brain cancer basically. But since I was, a Marine, Navy Bethesda would treat me. So I got flown up to Bethesda. And I was at Bethesda for maybe 10 or 11 months. When I was up there, they put my first Metaport in.
Well, explain what a Metaport is.
So I'm going to take my shirt down just for a second.
Sure.
See these scars? So Metaport is, veins are great, but for the massive amounts of chemo that I would have and proceed to have over the coming years, your veins get blown. So Metaport is basically like a little nipple they put in your chest. And there's a tube that goes to your superior vena cava. That's the main vein that goes to your heart. So the chemo is instantly shot in your body, and it's very easy. They just stick a needle right there, and then you have instant IV access. Why I know so much about the venous system is, we'll get into it, my first job out of the Marine Corps. But that was it, and chemo started, 2004, late 2004 at Bethesda.
But before you go too deeply into the chemo in that time, I do want to ask a couple of clarifying questions, because I think that you're sort of burying the lead here. You had brain cancer.
Yep.
You were a commissioned officer on a flight track, which is rarefied air. There are very few individuals across the services that fly fixed wing aircraft, jets. There's very few Marine aviators that are flying, because we just don't have a huge fleet of fixed wing.
We don't.
And so for you to have made it through all of these metrics, all of these gateways to get where you are, to all have that taken away was, that must have been horrifying. Must have been devastating. Absolutely soul crushing.
When you think about it, my dream job as a kid, I wanted to be Top Gun.
Yeah.
And I was that close to it, and it got taken away from me. But with what was going on, the next focus in life was get rid of this cancer.
Yeah.
Let's figure out what we're doing next.
And the prognosis from the doctors, actually, we'll hold off on that one. Let me ask this instead. You're in Bethesda. You're in a bed. You know what you have. The doctors know what you have. And everyone knows what is required to treat it. Did you just assume that was the end of the Marine Corps career? That was it. You were done.
Probably, brain cancer 4 times and 2 other times. My short-term memory. Long-term memory is pretty good. Sure, that came along, but we'll get into what transpired through this treatment and why I did not choose. But yes, at that point, I thought my flying days and my Marine Corps days were more than likely over. And the contemplated, people ask me, yeah, you should probably get medically retired at this point. I was like, I haven't done shit in the Corps. I haven't done any deployments. I got brother-in-law and friends that are over in country right now in combat. I want to do my part. So that's where my mindset was. Get rid of the cancer and see where we're at the end of this.
And I think asking that question is extraordinarily important, because I want people to understand the strength that you have, not just had, but continue to have, and the perseverance that it took. Because I think most people in your situation would have tapped out, and no one would have blamed them for it, having that kind of condition and having brain cancer.
Well, I appreciate that. And I'm going to give kudos right now to my sweet mother and father. Growing up as a military brat across the globe. And my mother was a stern woman. She was the eldest of 4, raised up in upstate New York. And I have to tell the story, when I was in Germany as a little kid, I missed dinner one night. And most people in the society would frown upon this and how she dealt with it. I got a glass of milk, a bath, and I went to bed without food because you missed dinner, kid. And she showed me that. And she did not spare the rod, per Psalms, I got my ass whooped all the time. So I give the kudos to the parents and how they raised me to deal with that situation the way that I did.
So then let's bring us back to 2004, Bethesda, and the treatment.
Yep. I don't remember the exact treatment. I think it was R-CHOP, which is like Rituxan. It's a bunch of massive amounts of chemo, but my cancer, CNS lymphoma, has very good prognosis with chemo, and it's worked well over the years. You have to deal with the effects of the chemo, but pretty quickly the tumor started to shrink, and then 8 or 9 months, it was completely gone, continued the regimen, and around the 11-month mark, I was in remission for the first time. And I have to go back to my brother-in-law, Jesse Grapes, who I met at TBS. This is a funny story. So we partied a little bit in TBS, and I took him up to Annapolis, Maryland, where my father was working as a contract dentist for University of Baltimore. And my second sister was home. And when I saw the look on both of their faces when we had dinner, I was like, uh-oh. Well, we went out and partied one night, and the next morning I knew it was all over. And yeah, when he left TBS, he drove to San Diego to be with 3-1, and Elizabeth accompanied him. They're a great marriage, 2 great people. They have 4 kids now, and he's now the dean of Benedictine, but that's just one side story to the whole thing. But at that point, so I was looking back. I just knew I was cancer-free. I knew I could not fly anymore, but I want to stay in the fight because Jesse was over in Fan and Fury, the second battle of Fallujah. While I was at Bethesda, we know, some of us know First Sergeant Castle.
Yeah.
There's a statue of him now.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He was on my floor in Bethesda on 5. I went and had a conversation with that hard son of a bitch.
Yeah.
With his leg. They had this apparatus on it, trying to spread it apart to let it grow back because of 4 or 5 rounds that he got in it. And then Jesse had some platoon mates where I had conversations on floor 5 in Bethesda. And I thought, I need to stay in this fight, and I want to be part of it. So I stayed in. I tried to stay in. Yeah. And this is where it gets kind of funny. But talking with the monitor, I was about to be a captain.
Explain what the monitor is.
So a monitor is, say, a captain in the Marine Corps who's in charge of getting officers or enlisted jobs where the needs of the Marine Corps and figuring out where they need to go. So I was a first lieutenant this time. I needed to contact the monitor, gave him basically my story. I'd love to go to IOC, infantry officer course, and go do what Jesse did. Monitor said, dude, you're too senior. You can't go to IOC as a captain.
What was your rank at that time?
First lieutenant. And I was about to put on captain in another year or 2.
You got promoted while at Bethesda, didn't you?
I don't remember first lieutenant yet. Nah, I think first lieutenant was while in Meridian.
Because
two years, yeah. I got promoted to first lieutenant while in Meridian.
Okay. Because I do remember a photograph of you in the hospital bed in Bethesda. And I know that some senior ranking officers came and visited you at your bedside.
No, don't recall who they were at Bethesda.
I seem to recall that okay. So captain, you were too senior to go to infantry officers course.
So it's funny. You know, what's oxymoronic in the military?
Well, first off, that's too big of a word to use
Nope.
in our audience. You can't do that. No, I'm kidding.
No, but what does everybody say? Intelligence, right?
Yeah.
That was really the only thing. So MAGTAF intelligence officer course was put in front of me by the monitor. It's a place where about to be a captain, I could go do it. You would basically be the intelligence officer for units or whatnot. So I went to MAGTAF intelligence officer course when I got finally cleared at Bethesda. But let me backtrack. While at Bethesda, I was still recovering. My bright ass decided to run the Marine Corps Marathon in 2005.
Which is held in DC every year.
Listen, I wanted to get back in fighting shape. Listen, that was the first and the only marathon I've ever run because Marathon, the individual who ran the first one, what happened to him?
Yeah, he died.
Yep. So, but I ran it just to get back in fighting shape, and that was a good physical point for me to do. But I ran the Marine Corps Marathon and then started to go down the path of becoming a MAGTAF intelligence officer. I went to Dam Neck, Virginia.
Yep.
And while at Dam Neck, Virginia, an instructor was there. Who was our recon battalion? Do you remember his name, the battalion commander?
Which time?
When I came over to the battalion? It's been so many years, it doesn't matter. But anyways, he was going over to first recon. And listen, I like to have conversations and talk to people. No experience in the fleet. And I literally said to him, sir, I'd love to be able to come over to first recon to be a platoon commander if I could. He goes, I don't know, Andy. And I said, all right, well, I got your email address. While in country, my first deployment, so I go down to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina as a MAGTAF intelligence officer. Mm-hmm. There's no battalions or anything for me to support. I go to H&S Company at the 2nd MARDIV, 2nd Marine Division, and a military transition team intelligence advisor slot opens up. So I get put on this MIT team. Military transition team is a team of 11 men. Each one of us has their own specialties. So you have infantry, intelligence, administrative, logistics, and our job is to go train the local Iraqis and their battalions on our specific specialty.
Yeah, it's kind of the Marine Corps version of an ODA team with a lot less of the vetting.
Right.
Yeah, it's something
So-
that we cobbled together during that time period.
Right. So I'm in Camp Lejeune. Jackson Suckville is what I call it. In late 2005, get attached to the military transition team. We do workups for 6 months, and we deployed to Iraq. And I don't remember where we were going, but we went to Baghdad to do the initial training.
Yeah.
And the brigade team leader had some connections, and Ramadi had spot for 3 MIT teams. So we were going to Ramadi in 2006. That was the last hellhole, the last hotspot in 2006. Fully kinetic.
Yeah.
We get there late at night in the CH-60, all blacked out, not out. The pilots are flying, land, get there, and it was a fun 45 days that we were there in Ramadi. We got our cherry popped the first 4 days. We left. We had a little hooch south of Michigan. We were supporting the first of the 506, the Band of Brothers. Remember that Showtime special movie? Yep. But they got ripped over 15 months, and the new battalion came in, and that new battalion sourced a MIT with their battalion. So our MIT team leader didn't have the best relationship with the brigade team leader. So after 45 days of combat operations, we got pushed out of Ramadi to Husayba, to the Syrian border. So fully kinetic environment in Ramadi, everyday firefights, IEDs, mortars, to Husayba, fully passive for 10 months. But it was a blessing in disguise. So there's a lot of crap going on at this point. I'm still emailing that individual from IOC. I said, sir, I'd really like to come over to First Recon. He goes, Andy, we don't have a slot for you right now. Well, a month later, he emailed me and said, Andy, there's been a Liberty incident. An officer got in trouble.
I remember the incident in question. I was at First Recon.
If you can talk to the monitor and get waivers out of Lejeune, because even when I got back from this first deployment, I would have only had 19 months on station, and you have to be at a duty station for 24 months.
Yep.
Well, I know how to have a conversation with somebody. I talked to the monitor, gave my sob story, told him about jets, brain cancer. Dude, get me over to First Recon. The battalion commander wants me over there, and he worked it out for me. So I got orders to First Recon while still in country in Husayba, and I knew when I was getting back, I was going to First Recon. And that was a pretty cool-ass reality for somebody that's been through what I had been through.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing. So
what year did the MIT team deployment end? When did you get
so
back
we
to
got there,
Lejeune?
I think, in like April of 06.
Yeah.
We were there until 2007.
When in 2007?
March or April, I believe.
Yeah. Because I think we actually overlapped a little bit.
In country?
As I was in Fallujah in 07.
Okay.
So we probably were in country around the same time period. So you go back to Lejeune, or Lejeune, as I'm told I'm supposed to say it now. I'm fucking not.
I've never said Lejeune.
No, it doesn't sound right in the mouth. I don't like it. It's Lejeune. Not important. So you were very fortunate to get a waiver, because in my experience with the monitors, and monitors on the enlisted side are different than the monitors on the officer side, because our monitors are enlisted. They're
Yep.
E9s, E8s for the most part. It's something that is usually politically driven for the enlisted, especially when you get to the E6, E7, E8. But I'm digressing.
Right.
It was nice that he hooked you up that way, though.
Well,
Because it changed the trajectory of your life.
Well, it did. And let me throw this I have to add this back into it. So in the 12-month deployment in Ramadi and Husayba, we get 12 days of R&R back in the United States. Guess what I did on my 12 days of R&R?
Yeah.
I took the BRC indoc at Lejeune. When I landed the plane, I told my wife at the time, I got to do an indoc. So my first day back from country after 7 months was doing the BRC indoc. You know what it was. The swimming, the running, the physicalities, but I did well on it. And that's when I knew I was getting orders. But I get back at Lejeune, and it's orders to First Recon. So we got a PCS from Lejeune over to Camp Pendleton and pack our goods up.
They know who's the we.
So that was, I'm a sinner, but that was my first wife. She was a college sweetheart. And during flight school, some things happened, but we got together and ended up getting married.
And obviously I don't want to pick at a scab that may be healing
It's
nicely,
all
but
good. Yep.
when we go through adversity, regardless of what it
Yeah.
is, we lean on a large group. And you went through some pretty adverse circumstances, as we're going to
100%.
talk about. So I hope that you were able to draw support from her in some form, in some
100%
shape. Yeah.
was. My family and parents and sisters were always very good. And
Yeah.
she's with a hard charging individual that had a lot against his plate and was only looking for the next thing to figure out what he was going to do in the Marine Corps and serve his country the best way that he could. And that was get in the cars and go to West Coast, go to BRC and try to get back in the fight and get
Yeah.
over your country is which is what I wanted to do. Because I got promoted to captain
Yeah.
while flying over to Iraq, the first deployment.
And she supported the move. She supported your career. She was along for the ride.
Yeah. But we'll see how it wasn't a good disposition for a relationship. I was either at school or deployed for the next 3 years constantly.
And that's hard. The underappreciated spouse, right? Whether it's a husband, whether it's a wife. I mean, military life it's rough. It's rough on the family, and a lot of marriages fail. A lot of families fail.
They do. And she was a girl from Greenville, South Carolina. Didn't know anything about the military, and she was, smacked in the face with it, with being with me and everything that transpired. So yes.
And you're a difficult person to be smacked by. So
I'm a lover, not a hater, Brad.
Sure.
But yeah, so she PCS with me. We drove the truck.
You drove?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you got all your stuff.
100%.
The whole apartment. Yeah.
They sent big trucks. We went over. I flew to Encinitas / Camp Pendleton, and I looked at the beach. I didn't want to stay in Oceanside because Oceanside is marine heavy. Looked at Encinitas, Cardiff, and Leucadia, and I found this really sweet lady. Reminds me a lot of one of your mates here. No, really nice, and it was Craigslist, and I found a house to stay for her and I. For about $1,000 a month, and on BAH, basic allowance for housing. That's pretty darn good for a captain out there making plenty of money. So that's where we moved into. But as soon as we moved in there, I went to jump school, BRC, and what else? What other schools did we have?
There's a lot to choose from.
What is it? I'm having a brain fart.
That's all right. Let's start with BRC.
Yeah, BRC.
When did you go to BRC?
I think a couple weeks after we get to Camp Pendleton,
which would have been
2000. So I got to I was surfing Christmas Day, 2007.
Okay.
I think it started early 2008. Yeah.
And for those that don't know, the Basic Reconnaissance course is the Marine Recon school to learn all of the things that a recon Marine needs to be able to do. But it's also a vetting process as well, because you have to graduate, and the requirements to graduate are not a walk in the park. I mean, they're not terribly hard, but you can fail, and people do.
Oh,
people quit.
They do. Listen, I've got a few SEAL buddies in Mansfield, Texas, and close friends of mine. I like to throw this joke out there, though. Our Zodiac boats had 250-pound deck plates. Theirs did not, and we had to carry those bitches. And I've shown you the scar on my ear that I've had since 2008 from the damn Zodiac that we had to trudge along. But yeah, so I started BRC, patrol phase, ocean phase on Coronado, and everything else.
Sure.
BRC went pretty clean and swift, although I did, at that point, get a bad sinus infection on patrol week, but it's fine. One of my sweet docs, that's our 18 Deltas, so that's a highly specialized corpsman in the Marine Corps, especially specialized operations as far as reconnaissance. They go through an immense amount of training. I mean, they're borderline close to doctors. He threw me a Z-Pack. He had a Z. I didn't have to go to the doctor, so I got that. It took care of that sinus infection. But we finished up BRC. I thought I was going to get a platoon at First Recon, but H&S Company said, nope. Your first duty at Recon is going to go on an IA, an individual augment, and go support SOCCENT, Special Operations Command, out of Tampa, Florida. Yeah. You're not getting a platoon yet. So I flew down.
That's where we met.
I think so.
Oh, yeah. Because I met you for the very first time. I was doing a little stint as an H&S Company gunny. And you came in very needy and were asking things that were absolutely dead to rights, legitimate to ask. And me, being me, was fussy and annoyed. I was like, who the fuck is this captain asking? Like, I've got shit to do, bro.
Yep.
But yes, sir, 3 bags full. And that was the first time that I had ever met you.
I
think
kind
it's
of
kind of a
remember. I
dick.
kind of remember that. I mean, nothing's changed with that aspect of everything. We know that. But no, we're still good friends to this day. So
Yeah.
obviously we got along.
Yeah, we
had,
did.
You know,
It actually worked out for the best because you had like how long were you at First Recon before they put you on the MIT? I mean, I know you went through the basic airborne. I know you went,
not the mid. Before I got
sorry,
the
the
platoon,
IA, the IA. How long
that was pretty.
were
I
you
was
at?
not. I did BRC,
Yeah.
jump school in Benning, right
Yeah.
around here. Came back and I don't know if it was Henry or who it was an H&S company told me, Andy, there's no platoon for you, so you're doing an IA. So I went on the IA for 6 months.
Okay.
Tampa for a little bit, but I was over in Qatar, however you want to pronounce it.
I like Cutter.
It was a glorified booze cruise for me. I mean, I was Qatar, nice. I mean, stayed in quad cons, worked out every day, but
What was your job?
I was a Central Asian States desk officer.
I have no fucking clue. I mean, you got to unpack that.
I know. Well, I'm going to. Let me get there, sweetheart.
Nothing's changed.
Nothing.
You're still an asshole.
You're still a prick.
I am. It's true.
That's why we love each other. So, Central Asian States desk officer. I think I was in charge of all specialized operations in Afghanistan, a little bit of in Iraq. So the ODAs, Operational Detachment Alpha, Army Specialized Operations, some SEAL teams, making sure they had the gear, support, whether it was air assets or whatnot. We were basically the conduit, the middleman between their supporting agencies. That's all we were.
Who'd you report to?
I don't remember.
Was it
I really don't.
another Marine or was it
I had a really cool lieutenant colonel who was soft himself.
Okay.
I don't remember his name, but I had another guy from TBS there.
Because at that time, there was no MARSOC. The
Nope.
Marine Corps had no special operations plug-in.
Nope.
So you are, in their eyes, conventional forces, Marine officer. They probably didn't know what to do with you.
Well, yeah, they just basically said, "Hey, you're in charge." I mean, you learn jobs pretty quick. You know,
Yeah.
every day in the Marine Corps, any job is new. Have to figure it out. But it wasn't a very difficult job to do.
What was your physical status at that point? You were in remission. Did you need any maintenance? Was there any periodic checkups? Was there any medical requirements?
Not at that point because I'd been cancer free and nothing was going on. So I was good, working out like a madman, still running in the hot sandy areas of Qatar, and just trying to stay in shape for when I got back and hopefully got a platoon with recon.
Yeah,
that was the goal. So during that time, marriage was obviously on the rock. So I had cancer. We got married. School after school. Now deployment, first deployment. Got back, and immediately when I got back to H&S Company at First Recon, Pat Henry, who you know, brought me into his office. The first thing he did was threw a book in front of me. I said, "What the hell is this, Pat?" He goes, "Generation Kill." He goes, "Read it." I said, "Why?" He goes, "Because your platoon sergeant's the lead character in it." I literally looked at him. I said, "Fuck my life, seriously?" But I digested that book that night and the next day, and I knew that I would be bequeathed with you as my platoon sergeant.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no,
You're welcome.
it was
It's
a great,
lot of awesomeness to take in one dose. I get it.
Yeah, 100%. And we do have to tell this story, but Pat drove me from Margarita down to the boat base, and what was it? You guys were Del Mar.
Yeah.
To meet you boys for the first time.
That's right. Because I had already had the platoon for a little while.
Well, yeah, you were doing everything you needed to do to get him prepared to go on the MEU to support BLT, the battalion landing team that we'd be supporting. But we were the eyes and ears for them as far as our capabilities and skill sets that the reconnaissance afforded the battalion landing team. But I remember walking in, you were in the shower, shaving or something. You gave me your smirk, the look that you can give somebody. And I was like, you're at the time you were a gunny. Hey, gunny Colbert, Captain Priddy, Pat introduced me. Yeah. Then you introduced me to the men, and I was a very short, and it's written in the book, but I could feel myself fucking shaking because I was nervous as shit.
Yeah.
I try to put it down, whatnot, but even Sean, we make fun of it all, and it's a funny part. But I mean, it was a culmination of the last 6 years and everything that I've been through. I was ecstatic to get the platoon, but we started off running at that point. The workups and everything that we did going forward.
Yeah, it was a lot. And it's all outlined in the book. And I certainly don't want to go through it operation by operation because it really is, it's better in the pages than it is.
100%.
But this is where so when I met you and we had months of very close interoperations, I mean, you and I became integrated, fast friends.
Right.
And, both of us are two sides of the same coin, which is you're in charge of a group of 24 Marines. And you're in charge of every facet of their lives. And they're responsible for, we're responsible for everything. So we worked closely together. And in the course of that, you sort of unpacked your history. You were a fallen angel, which is what happens when an aviator is no longer an aviator.
Correct.
And told me about the cancer. And I'm like, wow, I mean, dude, that's incredible, because there's just not a lot of people who suffer that and then rebound the way that you did. So I thought that was amazing.
Well, I appreciate that.
So I'm going to tell my perception of the story, and you're going to tell yours, and we'll see how closely they match up. Let's fast forward. We're months of deployment, pre-deployment training under our belt. We leave the United States on a U.S. Navy boat for ostensibly a 6-7 month deployment. At some point, we find ourselves, and I'm fast forwarding here, we find ourselves in Kuwait. Kuwait is hot. It's a desert, obviously. And we're doing a live fire range that was very complex. It had a lot of moving parts. It required a tremendous amount of planning and preparation. And there's a pucker factor, because if something happens and if we fuck up and someone gets hurt, I mean, that's it. It's over. But it went well. I mean, it went phenomenally well.
Right.
And we're in Kuwait, and we're wearing body armor, and we're wearing a helmet, and I've got gear on, weapons, and it's hot and cumbersome and obnoxious, even if you were doing it in 50-degree weather. And this is 110, 115. And we get done, and you didn't say shit during the live fire evolution. Not a word. As far as I knew, everything was 100%. But you're like, afterwards, after everything was finished, you're like, Brad, I have a temperature, I have a fever, I need to go. But I didn't know, because nothing visibly would have told me that you were running 104-degree fever.
Right.
That's my recollection of the events. Now, I'm letting
No,
you talk about what took place later that evening and your eventual medevac. But
Well, yeah, I'm going to go back into a little bit more detail as far as the previous 5 or 6 months. So back when we were at Camp Pendleton, I had this weird pain in my jaw. I went to the doctor, tried to figure it out, didn't know. While we were on ship, I didn't divulge this to you, I started to have night sweats while on ship. And Dr. Jourdain, who's kind of still a buddy of mine, and Dr. Glass, I went down to them, and Jourdain gave me a prednisone.
Yeah.
And as soon as I started taking that prednisone, the next couple of days, the fevers went away. Pain kind of subsided. I had pain in my abdomen and whatnot through it all. And I kind of knew at that point. But here's the deal. Me being the Marine officer in charge of our platoon, I'm granted you were capable of running this whole thing, but we had the prospect of possibly going to Marja. I wanted to take the boys through every possible training environment that we could go, because we possibly could have gone to combat. So that's why I pushed the envelope. And when I was in Dubai, I went to the little civilian doctor there. They tried to give me, they didn't have any pain medication, but I was in a lot of pain. They were stretching me out. I remember on the street one time, another officer was holding my leg, thought it was a sciatica. It wasn't. But when it finally came to fruition after 23 days of sustainment training in Kuwait, yeah, my give a shit meter was shattered. I was sick and I knew it. So I immediately said, Brad, I need to go to the doctor. Went to the doctor, and obviously the BLT, the battalion landing team people, they thought I had malaria because of the training that we did in Malaysia. I knew it wasn't effing malaria, because the signs and symptoms were pretty similar to what I had.
And I know you, and I knew you took your
100% took my
doxycycline or
prophylactic
methylprednisolone.
antibiotics.
Yeah.
Well, they immediately put me in, what do we call it? The med tent, whatnot, gave me narcotics, which was great. BAS. They flew me to Landstuhl, Germany. They couldn't figure it out. It wasn't malaria. After they put, terrible story, a double catheter in my piece to filter water in and filter out, because they still thought it was malaria. I was like, this is not malaria. They sent me to Hamburg, Germany, so the German doctors could figure it out. There they did a biopsy in my abdomen, figured it out. It was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma for the second time, but this time it was systemic in the body. And as soon as they did that, I was like, cool. But my mother was there at the time in Landstuhl, Germany. And I remember this, and it's in the book. And I said, Mom, I'm fucking done. I'm done fighting. I mean, I've flown jets. I made it over to Recon, did 2 deployments with them, and a 12-month, I'm done. And the tough mother that she was, she goes, Andy, you aren't. The Father has you, meaning Jesus Christ. Continue to push through and fight. And as a smart son, I listened to her. And that began my second battle with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, this time systemic in the body.
How long were you in Germany?
Not that long. I've got pictures of me waking up. They put so much damn fluid in me. I mean, right now I'm 170, 80 pounds, not even. But there I was 210 pounds with all the fluids they had pumped in me. Um, but once they administered the first chemo in Amberg, it started to have immediate effects on the tumors, started to reduce them. So I was flown on a C-17 with a bunch of other casualties back to Walter Reed Army Medical Center this time,
Yeah.
with the intent of getting my ass back to
First Recon.
Camp Pendleton. See you guys at First Recon.
Yeah.
Short time at Walter Reed Army Medical Center, and then flown back to San Diego. And a sweet guy, I forget his name. He was Amerasian. He was a platoon commander. They went to Afghanistan. He put me up in his house. The wife and I had been divorced, and that workup, we went through that whole process, but stayed there. And I went through the process of being retired at that point because I'd done everything fun and cool. I was a captain, and I didn't want to have a lobotomy. That's what we say when you get major. There's nothing cool or fun that you can do. So
for those of us that were back that didn't go with you to Germany, the information that we were being told by the MEU was you were probably going to die. That's what we were being told. When you know, hey, there's not a lot we can tell you, but it's not looking good. His family's there. He's, you know, he may not make it, was the word that we got. And that was, you know, that was devastating. After you've been with somebody in that close environment for so long, like that was.
We didn't have any communication, like cell phone can call in Iridium. Iridium is a satellite phone that we had in country sometimes, but no. The first time I saw you guys is when the ship came back and you got off the ships.
Yeah.
Remember that when I picked you guys up?
It was a fantastic reunion. We knew that you were going to be there, and the whole platoon was absolutely relieved to see you because of everything that we had been told. It was, I mean, we had very little information, and what we had was not good.
Yep.
When did you, during any of this, decide that there was a higher power at work in your healing?
So I've always believed in a higher power, and my higher power is Jesus Christ and God. I was raised Catholic, and sorry, family, but I'm not Catholic. Catholicism, you know, Catholic school and everything else, and all the issues that organization has had. But I've always been close with the Father, Jesus, and things. And for him to get me through that stuff and still have me there, I always maintained a relationship with that. It wasn't as strong as it is today, because as we'll get into, the story gets even darker and much more severe. But I was okay with it. Listen, I was alive. So I was just looking for the next step in life. And what was that?
Yeah.
And what is his name? Because I still talk to him this day. Another captain, Califatis. Remember that guy?
I do.
So he's a good buddy. During the stages when I was going through medical retirement, you know, trying to think about what I was going to do next outside of the Marine Corps. And Captain Califatis at the time was going through a company called Cameron Brooks. So Cameron, as a guy who lives in Texas around Austin, he was in the military in the Army during Vietnam time frame, and he got out and he saw that corporate America, there was a huge market for people that had leadership and managerial experience and knowledge.
Yeah.
So he started a company called Cameron Brooks, where he took junior military officers and took them to a rigorous training program and then put them in front of, you know, Fortune 500 companies, interviews, and got these guys jobs. So that was going to be my next stage. So while going through medical retirement, I was working with Cameron Brooks and trying to get set up to interview with 15 Fortune 500 companies in 48 hours sometime that summer that we got back.
So this would have been what?
2010. 2009,
yeah.
That summer in 2010, because I was medically retired in 2010 early and then moved to the Metroplex in early 2010.
Got it.
But through Cameron Brooks, it was a really cool process. It's funny, though. There was a session where I could have gone early on, but I was still bald from the chemo. And one of my, I guess, not even mentor, but individual in charge of us says, Andy, let's wait till your hair grows back a little bit because that'll look a little bit weird. I said, yeah, I agree with that. Don't want to be interviewing, having to tell the cancer story, and I didn't want to do that.
Yeah,
so
you don't want the sympathy vote.
So I waited to that summertime and literally in 2 days interviewed with 15 Fortune 500 companies. And through it all, I ended up taking a job with St. Jude Medical because I interviewed with an Army guy that was specialized operations. We had an immediate connection. And so St. Jude Medical was a pacemaker defibrillator company. If anybody knows Medtronic, Boston Scientific, we were a huge competitor to them. St. Jude has been acquired by Why am I having a brain fart?
Because,
Yeah, well, because it's late in the day.
well,
But anyway, they were acquired years ago. But anyways, was my first job when I came to the Metroplex. Very technical job. I was coming on to be a technical service specialist, be in cases, all the hospitals around the Metroplex, helping doctors insert pacemaker leads into the heart through the subvaricana that I had my Metaports put through, and change people's lives. And it was a cool job because it was active and it was out there and it wasn't in a desk. And somebody who had lived my life, I didn't want to have a desk job. So
no, most of us
jumped on it.
don't. I want to briefly go back to Kuwait in 2009. You knew that you were not 100%, but yet you chose to suck it up. Do you think that that decision was the right one?
Absolutely. We could have still gone to Mars at that point. So the only thing on my mind is that is the ethos of a Marine officer is the men and the mission.
But at what point do you think that it becomes more of a detriment to be that silent suffering than it does to ask for help?
I never even thought of that. I wouldn't put any credence into thinking that way. I pushed, and did you ever see my capabilities failing to a point of degradation that you wouldn't want me there?
Absolutely not.
Then
But
perfect.
I think
Then in my mind, I made the right decision to push it to that point.
I think a lot of people, though, that I have talked to when it comes to, and your situation is different, I mind you that, but I am going to use it as an example. A lot of people have this alpha male mentality that pain needs to be suffered through, that you don't ask for help, and it more is applicable towards the invisible wounds of mental health, that stigma that, I got to suck it up and I just got to keep going and this will all work out.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to it was the platoon and the men and could have going to combat. That was
Yeah.
the forefront of my mindset. That's why I pushed it to the limits to get me to that point. And then that's why at the end of the Kuwait sustainment training, that was a point where I was able to say, hey, I'm sick.
Yeah.
I need something. So I thought that was the apropos time to divulge that to you
Yeah.
and to seek medical attention that I needed.
So you are selling medicals.
Well, let me take a step back because this is a big part and it'll be in the book. So while I was in San Diego, I was dating this young girl, and one of my roommates, I lived in Encinitas again in a house with two other guys. This kid had this drug Concerta. So I've never had ADHD, but he had this drug in
Yes,
one
you
night.
have.
Huh?
Sure you have.
Okay. Well, I've never been diagnosed. He goes, Andy, you want to try this Concerta? I said, sure, why not? And he gave it to me one night, and I'm going to be honest, I'm an addict. I'm a recovered alcoholic, and I like to go fast. And that drug let me go fast. And recovering from chemo for the second time, I was like, holy crap, I like this drug. Because it gave me energy that I didn't have. It manifested in I fell in love. So that female knew a doctor, not part of the military, that could get me a prescription. So I got a prescription of Concerta. And you'll see as we continue to talk and in the book, that started me on a hellacious 10 to 13 year on that drug because I would take that drug and have energy all day. But at the end of the day, for some reason with me being an addict, I had to fill the void of that speed and that high going away with something else. And my choice was booze.
Yeah.
And it was a destructive, disgusting lifestyle, but it's one I chose to take because I thought at this point a little bit of invincibility was coming to my mindset. I beat cancer twice. I can do whatever the hell I want.
Sure.
And it was a ignorant and stupid mindset to take, but it's part of the story.
It is. I'm actually not familiar with the drug that you were talking about. So you're going to forgive my ignorance because I'm actually not savvy on a lot of prescription drugs. I only know street drugs, not firsthand, but in the parlance of American culture, we know things like meth, heroin, cocaine, crack, all marijuana. But tell me a little bit more about this because it sounds like what was its primary use? Is it a pain pill?
So it was an ADHD medication for those people that need to slow their brain down. But for those of us that don't have ADHD, I mean, you've already said that I probably do, but it works as methamphetamines, basically.
Okay.
So Concerta, because I know from experience, I cracked one open. And in the center of it is a drug I determined that it was Ritalin. I don't know if you knew Ritalin, but
I was on it when I was a kid.
Okay.
Trust me.
The little white stuff.
I know
it
fucking
was Ritalin and ephedra, how the pill broke up.
Yeah.
And how it progressed. out of the Marine Corps, I got to straight Adderall, which is just the little pills.
Yeah.
Same kind of stuff,
Yeah.
but it was basically speed for me.
Yeah.
And especially with how my unfortunate drinking progressed, I needed something in the morning to start my engine.
When did
And
you start seriously drinking?
So I love my uncle, but when I moved to DFW, got with a firm that was taking me all around looking at places I could live. My uncle said, "Hey, I got a buddy in Allen, Texas. Think of big suburbia. I mean, 100% suburbia." He had a buddy that had an upstairs attic loft that was open, $500. And getting out, having retirement, what I was making with St. Jude, I was like, "Yeah, be close to my uncle, good guy." And John is self-proclaimed. Alcoholism runs in my family. My unfortunate grandfather died of alcoholism. John is an alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic. I was drinking every day with them.
So just socially drinking.
Socially drinking,
Yeah.
but hard booze,
Yeah.
tequila, whiskey, beer in here and there. But that was a nightly occurrence for me, just to release whatever self-induced pressure or whatnot. I mean, the job was fun, stressful, being in very stressful cases, trying to save people's lives, needing
Yeah.
a pacemaker, an ICD, which is an implantable cardiac defibrillator, and driving around all over the Metroplex. But it was the idiotic course that I chose. And once you get on something like that in addictions, it's a revolving door and it's a terrible disposition. But did that for a couple of years. And then in like 2011 or 12, I called my mom and said, I need some help. And I went to my first short rehab stint.
Where at?
It was right up Georgia Avenue in D.C., probably around Plano or something. I just called my mom and said, I need help.
Yeah.
She came in, flew in. I was staying at a buddy, Petey Machalar. He was a good golf buddy friend. We played golf all over the Metroplex. Found this little rehab place. It was like a 7 or 8 day. And drank tequila that night, made dinner for everybody, and went the next morning and checked in. And that time it was just, I needed a break. Contacted my boss at St. Jude, said, hey, I just need a little break going through some stuff. Wasn't honest and open with him. I said, sure, Andy, whatever. And went to that for 7 days. I didn't go there with the mindset that I was going to quit or stop. I needed to get a break.
So it was a resident course.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But I went there to that time, got free and clear, 7, 8 days. You thought that, getting out, having a new lease on life, I'd be good, but nope, the addictions crept in pretty quickly. I wanted that speed back.
What were you medicating from?
At that point, it was just the addict in me, right? I like speed, man. I like to go fast, flying jets.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
I mean,
a
the
skydiver.
alcohol's a depressant.
Like I said, you get really high on this drug,
Yeah.
and the downs would be really low. So the way I would combat those downs was with alcohol.
So there wasn't something that was existential in your life that you were trying to self-medicate. It was just an addictive personality.
Well, I think so. I mean, my combat wasn't atrocious. Didn't have any demons from that.
Mm-hmm.
No, just the addict in me.
Got it.
Wanted the speed.
Yeah.
And then wanted to come down off of it.
So you go to this rehab ostensibly looking for a break, not really pushing yourself to become completely sober. So, I mean, ultimately then, if I could jump ahead, it probably failed.
Oh, it did.
So how spectacularly did it fail?
Right back within 2 weeks, right where I was.
So who in your circle, family and friends, looking outside in, was observing this?
I don't know, because I hid the speed pretty well, but my buddy Pete, he drank. I don't think he drank like I did.
Yeah.
But I always had a bottle or something around the house and have a couple drinks a night, he'd see, or something like that. But and the uncle, like I said, he's a very high functioning alcoholic. Whenever I was over there, that was commonplace. But no, so I had a buddy from the training with St. Jude who had moved to Florida, and he had taken over he was now a sales rep, and he goes, Andy, there's a place in Melbourne Beach, Florida. I think you could be the sales rep. You need to come over here. So my bright self entertained that and ended up getting transferred from Dallas Fort Worth to Melbourne Beach, Florida, Podunk, South, Atlantic coast. Working down there for 6 or 8 months. Doing well, but still had the addictions, the drinking and the drugging.
Same drug?
Same. It was Adderall this time and then the booze.
But
But
where are you getting the prescription for Adderall?
doctors.
And, I mean, normally that's something that's...
Yeah, but I went through people with addiction and personalities like ours know how to get around it, how to say the right things, how to manifest the symptoms that you needed that drug. And I was on it before here, so I can get it. So I got it in Melbourne as well. But made the drive down to Melbourne Beach and was there for 6 to 8 months, and cancer started to creep back up again. I started to have pains, started to have night sweats.
So you knew it was cancer. You could feel, you'd been this twice before,
Yeah,
so you had a pretty good idea.
Yeah. I knew something was up, especially when the night sweats happened. I knew it was all over at that point. In Melbourne, they had a little bit better than Meridian, Mississippi doctors. But I thought I had, brain fart, sorry, brain cancer 4 times, a hemorrhoid, a massive hemorrhoid, because I had to get one of those little circles that you drive in your car with because it was so painful.
Donut. Sure.
Well, I ended up going to a doctor with the night sweats and the blood levels. And on a scan, they saw a lump down right around my anus. They did a fine needle aspiration, which is fun. You have to take colite, clear out your bowels. They did a biopsy, and I had 2 tumors right down there, right by my colon and anus, and it was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma again. Well, something that we went across. At this point, I had started a relationship with a young female, and she was in the healthcare industry. She was very well connected. She was soon to be an executive in the healthcare industry, and she knew of a Dr. Ritchie back here in Dallas, Fort Worth. So as soon as I was diagnosed, I told my team in Florida, I've got connections. I'm going to go back to Dallas, Fort Worth.
Yeah.
And so Christy is her name, and she brought me back, and I was introduced to Texas Oncology, a Dr. Ritchie. They knew what I had. They said, yeah, we're going to start treatment here. We're going to do some testing. I was staying at her house for a little while, and the pain became immense. I mean, they had me on some narcotics, but I called him one night. I said, we got to go. I said, I've been through a lot. And he said, get down to the ER. I went to the ER, and they started treatment pretty quickly after that. That's when I think I got my 2nd or 3rd Metaport in my chest. And that was my 3rd battle with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. This was systemic in the body. I don't really recall that manifested down there around the colon/anus and a few other spots. But I think it was R-CHOP again or something else, but they gave me that chemo. And that was my 3rd battle. But as soon as the chemo started, it worked very quickly like it always does. And St. Jude knew, and it was fine. But the thing was, I was working for St. Jude because I asked for it to get transferred from Dallas Fort Worth over to Melbourne. Came back. Wasn't really thinking about going back work for them, but during that whole process, I took the arduous process of doing the paperwork to get Social Security. Well, a 10-month arduous process, Social Security came on, so I had medical retirement and Social Security.
Okay.
But the 11-month mark, I was like, I want to go back to work. So I contacted a buddy.
So cancer is gone. It's in remission again for the 3rd time. Okay. How long did it take the 3rd time to get into remission? You said chemo works very fast.
It does. Trying to recollect back this time, I think it was 5 or 6 months. I knew that it was working, and the scans were showing that the tumors were decreasing, but my addictions were still there.
So during chemo, you're actively drinking and you're actively taking Adderall?
I took off for a while. I wasn't taking Adderall. But once I started to get better, I didn't have a job, trying to play golf, needed energy. I started to take Adderall again and started to drink while still going through treatment. Yes. It's the crazy mind of an addict.
They advise not to do that.
Sure. But listen, addiction is a terrible disease, and we'll get into it and how long I've had free and clear of it. It's an absolute miracle for somebody that drugged and drank like I did. But during that whole process, I contacted Mike. Was a good friend at St. Jude. He was a manager. He's now not working. He makes a ton of money, owns a restaurant. But I said, dude, I'm back here in DFW. I want a job. He goes, Andy, I can't bring you on like I did before, but I can bring you on as they had, think of like an individual augment. I forget what they called it, but they would pay me an hourly rate and I'd do the same stuff, cases and everything else. But I got paid pretty damn well hourly rate. I was still making $100 grand working for this company, doing cases and
Yeah.
checks and everything. And so I started working again for St. Jude while still dating Christy. And she introduced me to Richie, Dr. Richie, who's been my oncologist since 2012.
Did she at the time know about your addictive habits and addictive personality?
But pretty much, yeah. She knew that I was a heavy drinker, and
Yeah.
I don't know that she knew the extent of the Adderall and the effects, but anyway, that relationship progressed. The job with St. Jude was great. Continued to push forward. And I think, I don't know if it was this time. No, 2012. Yeah, that was the time, first stem cell transplant.
Who recommended the stem cell
So
transplant?
Dr. Ritchie had a relationship with a Dr. Fine. So he worked at Texas Health in Fort Worth. Dr. Fine worked up at Texas Health Resources in Dallas/Plano. When did an interview with him, and basically said, Andy, you know, for somebody that's been through cancer this many times, this is a good thing for you to go through. So the whole concept of a stem cell transplant is they take you into a hospital, you have to do preliminary stuff initially, but they basically kill you with the amount of chemo that they give you. And then they try to rebuild your body with your own stem cells or a donor stem cells. And my family was very rigorous on doing research, like my mother and father and me. Didn't want to use a donors because there's a thing called host donor disease, and it's very ugly. And during my first stem cell transplant, we actually saw 2 people die from it. So I chose to go autologous, which is use my own stem cells, and then we do that. So that was an arduous 12-month process.
Is where do they get the stem cells from?
I know, I have cancer, right? After they give you a little bit of chemo, then they take your own stem cells out of your body, put them in this, I put it in the book, the kinesis machine, spin it around.
Yeah.
And then after chemo in the hospital, they introduce these stem cells and basically rebuild you from the ground up.
Yeah, but how do they harvest the stem cells? Because
Intravenously.
yeah.
Metaports.
Yeah.
I had plain
Yeah.
Metaports, so we're fine.
Yeah. I want to go back though. I want to hold your feet to the fire on something.
Sure.
I'm curious to know how your girl at the time did not notice and have concerns with your levels of addiction, because a lot of times addiction affects those beyond us, the second and third orders, you know, the friends and the family. Did she not at all address like, hey, Andy, you are drinking a lot. You may want to dial back?
You know, it's so long ago. That's a very good question. And I think I have a lot more recent knowledge with my current beautiful bride that we will get into to give her experience through it. Because she got taken through the ringer through, you will see their subsequent cancer battles. And I will be able to validate and answer that question a lot more clearly, because this was such a long time ago
Sure.
that my recollection is not that clear.
No, that's a fair point. All right.
so-
So,
so-
stem cells.
Stem cell, go through it at, in Plano, the hospital, Texas Health. Well, I even forget what the name of the hospital was, but it was an arduous process. I mean, get out, and it was 8 to 9 to 12 months of recovery, just trying to figure it all out and get through it. But that was 2013, 2012 was my first stem cell transplant. But again, my addictions didn't go away. But that's when I contacted Mike Todrick, who is now a sales manager for St. Jude, said I'd like to come over in a capacity. And he brought me on, and I started the whole game again, working for St. Jude, making a ton of money and living like an idiot. And still, I got back on Concerta and was drinking again. So I didn't learn my lesson.
Okay.
Cancer now, 3rd-time survivor.
And what was your relationship with your girl at this point? Were you still?
It was okay. We were still dating. It was
Dating.
okay.
Okay.
But in 2015, I started a master's program at SMU through the GI 911 bill. I thought it would be good to get a little bit of higher education every other weekend. I could do it. So I started in 2015. And at this point, I can remember that my addictions were detrimental to the relationship. And as it was progressing forward, around 2016, halfway through, that relationship ended, and that was okay. But, you know, dumbass me, being at that time, I got on Match.com, thinking I was, you know, I had something to give a lady.
Sure.
3-time cancer survivor, hellacious alcoholic and drug addict. And this young woman, Kara Dacus, and I'm a very type A individual. You would think that I would be the one contacting. She messaged me first. And we started talking over email and whatnot through the site, and then we traded numbers and started to build a relationship. And I actually went to Richmond, Virginia to see my sister, my brother-in-law, who I talked about before. And the relationship, via phone conversation and text started to grow. And we had not seen each other or met one another in person. And then when I got back, I invited her to dinner. And it was a Texas Day Brazil. I was living in Bedford at the time in a really nice home off Cheek Sparger. Invited her down to Texas Day Brazil. She came up from Mansfield, and we had dinner that night. It was a great interaction. And I think we both truly were happy that we got to see each other the first time. And
Yeah.
that started out our relationship. It was Kara, and yeah, I kind of fell head over heels really quickly, but unfortunately I was still in my addictions, and it is what it is. But continued to work for St. Jude, so was doing St. Jude very well, and I have to be honest and open here. Was doing a case down at the VA, and we have these devices, and they have expiration dates, and I knew it, and I was trained on it. The first time I worked with a guy in Fort Worth, he goes, Andy, the one thing we get, you have to trade in these devices if they're coming close to expiration and get new ones. And I was adamant about that, and I watched all my devices and made sure, if it was a couple days or a week, I always got new ones. I think I had one of my team members' devices, and I didn't check it. And I don't know how it happened, but at the VA, we implanted a device that expired. And this was 2000, almost 17. And I lost a job with St. Jude Medical. It was a very terrible disposition. Kara and I were very close at this point in time. And I had a nice house in Bedford. And I said, I got to sell this house. So I put it up for the market. It sold pretty quickly. And by the graciousness that she is and her family is, she offered me to come live down in her little place in Mansfield. I think it was maybe 1,900 square foot. And how the relationship was going, I loved this girl at this time, and I believe she loved me. I said, okay, so we moved in together and did that for a little while. And the cancer came back in like 2018.
Did you have the same signs and symptoms as the previous?
This one, I don't remember. But listen, I've been compromising my immune system now for almost 10 years with hours, drugging and boozing. And one thing cancer loves to feed on is a weak body and a weak system.
Yeah.
But when do we know? 2018? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think, and I'm terrible.
You're
no.
in Mansfield.
I went to no. So I had to go to rehab.
Had to?
No, I had to go to rehab, and I told her and her family, I need to go to rehab. And I had a buddy or something that told me I'd been to one, it's down by Hico. Not Hico. It's 4.5 hours from Dallas, Fort Worth. I forget what it's called.
Don't know the area.
But it was a 30-day rehab.
Resident program.
Yeah, resident program, and I needed it. And this would be my second stint at this 30-day program.
So wait a minute. You skipped over the first one. When did you go to the first one?
When was the first one? Oh, the first one was when I was living in Bedford and dating Christy, and I knew I was in trouble. So I contacted an individual that we went to a counseling session with, and she introduced me to Starlight is the place I went to. It's 4.5 hours south in Hill Country. Went there 30 days, got out, and I was like, I'm done. Chris and I came, but it didn't work out. I got back on drugs and alcohol. But anyway, back to 2018 with Kara. Going back to Starlight for the second time. So this is my third stint at rehab.
Okay.
And while I'm down there, Kara divulges some news to me.
Jeez.
She goes, Andy, I'm pregnant.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
that's pretty big news.
The crazy thing, I was told when I was 24 I would not be able to reproduce. But, all the battles that I had been through, I could throw a joke in here, kind of some of the questions I had for her, but I'm not going to go over those. But the fantastic thing about the stem cell transplant, like I said, it rebuilds your body from the ground up.
Yeah.
It had been 6 years post my first stem cell transplant, and the cancer hadn't come back. So I could produce verifiable sperm. And Kara was pregnant. So I got a rehab with the mindset that we're going to focus on this and everything's going to be taken care of for her. Came back, started to do everything right. And a buddy that I met at, I don't know how I got involved in the Chambers of Commerce all over South Lake and some other cities, but a buddy was at Merrill Lynch. He goes, Andy, you should come over and work for us. I said, okay. So I went through that, passed the Series 6 and Series 7, and was working for Merrill Lynch out of Fort Worth. But I started to drink again and drug for a little bit. Going through the testing, Series 6 and Series 7, very arduous, 6.5-hour exams. I needed the speed, I thought, to pass them, but I passed them the first time. And was doing that. And Merrill Lynch was going very well for the first 10 months. But
Where's the pregnancy in all of this?
when I got out of rehab, I knew that she was pregnant.
Yeah.
So I thought that I would get myself back together, but I got in trouble again before she actually gave birth. And
What do you mean when you say you got in trouble?
I got in trouble again drinking and using. Well, I called Starlight for the third time.
Okay.
I was on the road driving 4 hours down. I stopped in Hyco, Texas. This is where I remember Hyco. I stopped at a hotel. I got a bottle somewhere. I think I had to drive 10 miles back to us because I think Hyco was dry. I got a bottle of wine. I woke up in the morning and I said, Andy, this shit is not working. What are you doing? So I contacted Kara. I said, babe, we're about to have a kid. I got to do this the right way. She said, come home. My dad has something for you. I get home. Her dad takes me to breakfast with a guy named Steve Meeks. God rest his soul. He died 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And 2 other gentlemen. We had breakfast. I'm strung out. I'm hungover. I don't eat anything. And Steve Meeks that morning takes me to Grave Street in Mansfield, an AA meeting.
Okay.
Stan
So
goes
you
in.
never went to Starlink for the third time. You were on your way.
Nope, I was on my way.
You turned, came home.
Starlight, yep.
Okay, got it.
I was like, I got to do this my way. I got
Yep.
to figure out a path.
Okay.
And thankfully, and by the grace of God, Stan had relationships with Steve Meeks, who was a hellacious alcoholic back in the day, and he knew where Grave Street was. And Stan took me there that morning to the 9 o'clock meeting on a Saturday. And there's so many God moments. I know you don't believe the same thing that I do, but I could go back in history and tell you this was one of those moments. But he takes me to Grave Street, sitting in the chair, don't even know what the hell to say or anything. But at the end of the meeting, a young man named Jason Taylor comes up to me. He goes, you doing okay, buddy? No, but he ended up being my sponsor and working with me for the next 12 months to get me sober. And he straight up told me, he goes, Andy, this is an arduous process, but if you do the process that I show you through and you strive to do this, you can get sober. I followed everything that dude said, and it was tough for 6 or 7 months because that desire to drink always was there. And he was honest with me and upfront and candid. He goes, Andy, it's going to take to about 12 months when the miracle will occur, but it will. But you have to work with me and you have to be honest and open, and you can't drink and drug. Still working for Merrill, still bringing on clients, busting my tail. So I'm getting sober. I'm still working at Merrill, busting my tail, building a good book of business. Grave Street every day, 6 o'clock meetings. Keep pushing, and we decide we need a bigger space. We're about to have a kid. So we start looking around Mansfield, and we come around. Kara, my wife, finds this beautiful home in Walnut Creek Country Club. Walk in, open floor plan, and after seeing it, I'm like, this is our house. And it was fairly cheap. It was like $320,000 or $350,000. Could pay the mortgage, and plus I have 100% medically retired, so no taxes. That's a huge piece. It's about $800 or $900 a month. We move in there. I get to a year sober, feeling great, doing really well with St. Jude. Oh, excuse me, not St. Jude. Merrill Lynch at this time in Fort Worth, downtown on Commerce Street. Every day working hard. And then I stayed late one night doing what I was doing. Came home at 7:30. Kara's there with Phoenix. I walk in the front door and collapse in the front foyer. I had a seizure. Kara, and we had just moved in this new house. It's been 3 weeks. She has to call an ambulance to come pick my ass up off the floor. They pick me up, take me to, I think, Methodist Mansfield. Have some buddies from A come talk to me. Don't really recall it, but I ended up going down to Texas Health, where Dr. Ritchie was. This guy's taken care of me since 2012 now. And this time it was found in the brain again. So this is the 5th time.
Okay.
Sorry I glossed over the 4th time, but I had the stem cell transplant before, the second stem cell transplant, but as Phoenix was coming on board. So at Merrill, I was there for about a year, had brought in well over $10 million, doing very well. get out of that. I don't do a stem cell transplant at this point.
Well, so the cancer for the 5th time now, and it's the brain. Was it exactly the same as the first time?
No, nothing manifested. It was just, I came home and had a seizure. I didn't have any pain or anything that was weird. We need to backtrack because now I'm remembering at Kara's house, my vision went on top of one another.
What does
I didn't
that
have
mean?
any pain in the head.
What do you mean when you say your
My
vision?
vision, like I was seeing on top like this. Like it was weird. So I finally got tested on that, and it was brain cancer that time as well. And that's when I went through my second stem cell transplant. And I think 2000, before, somewhere in there. I'd have to go back through the book. I apologize right now, but I'm tired. But
it's all right.
we go through that, go through my second stem cell transplant. Phoenix is here. But we get in the new house, doing well with St. Jude, and that's when the 5th battle happens. And I stayed out. St. Jude was great. Oh, not excuse me, sorry. Merrill Lynch was great. They had a program that took me down the highway to get on Social Security again while I was still working for them. I was working for them for free, brought on another $3 or $4 million. But I was sitting in my living room on a sunny day. The doors were open, sun was shining in, and I just got a message from up high that said, Andy, this job is too stressful for you. You don't need to go back to Merrill Lynch. And I answered, and I decided to stay on Social Security. And that's where I am. And
well, that's cancer bout number 5.
Yep.
And this is, you said 18, or are we after 18?
That's 18, 2018.
Okay. So we still have some time in the story then.
We do.
So
we're at our new place, 3 weeks. Ambulance picks me up. Cancer, had a seizure.
Yep. And you're sober by this point.
I've been sober.
For how long?
Still working. It's coming up on a year.
At this point in the story, it's been about a year of sobriety.
So I'll be 8 years Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah.
We do some math. 8 years back, 2018. Cinco de Mayo, 2018 was my first day of sobriety.
So at this point in the story, when you had collapsed in the foyer of your house after, just 3 weeks of owning it, you were sober for how long at that point?
Close to a year.
Okay. Fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah.
But in AA, when I finally got to the 12-month mark, as Jason Taylor, my sponsor, which we're good friends to this day, told me the miracle would occur. And I had absolutely no desire to drink, drug, or use ever again. And to this day, so back to the cancer battle, and that time when I collapsed on the floor. After that seizure, it was an arduous 12 to 16 months to recover from the seizure. Went to a neurologist in Fort Worth and everything else. Kara had to deal with me, not only the addict and everything else before, but now with a seizure.
Yeah.
Can't remember shit. Brain cancer now 4 times. But this beautiful woman and her family have stuck by me through this whole crap. But I was sober and clean and working the program. And I don't know at what point. So this book, the majority of it was written 2010 to 2016. It was, I've written the majority of the book, and sometime around late last year, in between there, so I get better and I get fully in recovery, still at Merrill Lynch, and working with them. And I honestly am not recalling when the 6th battle happened, but.
Well, I know it's in the book, and having read the book, I have insider knowledge, but I want to make sure that everybody that is listening understands that each one of these were separated not just in time, but also in different phases of your life. You had different people in your life at the time when this happened. You had different support structures. Your parents were there throughout the entirety.
Yes, they were.
Bless them. But you had different ladies. You had different friends. Your circle changed, and that support structure changed. And what I'm trying to find throughout this common theme is faith, because for you, this is a very faith-based life.
Yes, sir.
Which you have shined more in recent years than perhaps some of the earlier years, but it's always been there according to your own admission.
Correct.
When did faith become more central to your personal story?
When I finally got free and clear of booze and alcohol, to be honest, because I opened up the doors and the shutter, so to speak, to let God in, to start actually using me and working through me to start living the right way and be a good father and a husband to the wife and the son that I had. And that was paramount to me. So there's a definite correlation that my son will turn 8, July 5th of this year.
Yeah.
And I have 8 years Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that the father put that all into place. And I was able to get my crap squared away for that. And it sucks that it took another human being, but the gift of life, that is a son that you know that you have,
Yeah. Yeah.
kids that you have,
Yeah.
they do fantastic things. And they have the support system from Karen and her family. It was paramount to enable me. And the introduction to Grave Street, my sponsor.
It's
was-
huge.
Yeah.
I want to know what daily practices do you attribute towards your sobriety?
Hitting a meeting every day for 12 months, every damn day. And Kara, God bless her soul. I would go to meetings. She wouldn't want me to go, but I'm like, honey, this is what I've been taught and what I've learned. I need to go to this program every single day. And some days I would go to 2 meetings if I could. Some days I'd go to the 5:30 or 6 o'clock meeting in the morning before work, but I would always try to make the 6 o'clock meeting. And just working the program and trying to stay sober and trying to bring the message to as many people as I can. But I wasn't trying to help out or sponsor any other people until my stuff was taken care of. And I talked to Jason daily, if not a couple times a day. Like, this is what my mindset is and going through. A doesn't work for a lot of people, but I'm thankful that it was introduced to me by Stan, Kara's father, my father-in-law, because that saved my damn life.
What does work? If for those that say AA didn't work for me, do you have any other suggestions on what could?
For me, and I've told this to a lot of people, when I finally had to come to the realization and accept that a substance or a variable was owning my ass. My life was owned by the high or the booze. And when my type A realized that and accepted that, I said, F it, I'm done. Nothing's going to own me. Because, I mean, you listen to my life lived. I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to find a way, and I'm going to get what I want and what I need. And when I found out and realized that something was owning me the way alcohol and drugs were, I was like, you're an idiot, dude. Sorry, it took me 12, 13 years to get that point. But once I accepted that, I will never touch that stuff again in my life. Because I want to be as close to the Father that I can be and be as much good going forward to help as many people as I can either get out of addictions or believe in it.
Yeah.
Because the only Buddha, you want to name all the gods out there, the only one that is resurrected, and there's ample scientific data behind that occurrence.
Change gears for a moment and talk to me a little bit about the bitch barometer. Yeah.
I'm glad you asked that. So there is a chapter in the book, and it is called the bitch barometer, but it's not sexist to all you people. It's the level of degree that you can suck up and deal with certain arduous situations in life. And for me and what I've lived through, my barometer has been pretty high. But there's been times where I've been a little bitch, like the time I gave up in law school, Germany. And it's, you know, in the book it talks about when a guy orders a drink that sounds like it's out of the Caribbean. That's kind of a bitch. But it's like taking things in life where you need to get things done. You have a mission and a goal, and you're not getting them done because you don't eat right, you don't exercise, and you don't take care of your stuff. It's a barometer to allow you to do the things you need to do to be successful as a man, as a spouse, and as a husband, and as a father. And for me, that's something I check every single day. You know, I'm being a bitch. And it's not sexist at all. It's just like, am I not doing the things that I need to do to be right for the people around me that are counting on me?
Yeah. And Andy, how have you been able to find identity after the Marine Corps? I know for myself, I transitioned from, a 21-year uniformed career almost into a 10-year quasi-military career. So I was still very much a part of the tribe. But, you went into the private sector and operated at a very high echelon, but they were not guys that wore the uniform. So how did you transition?
Well, God has blessed me with meeting a lot of former veterans in Mansfield. It's hilarious. So I was at Jiffy Lube 3 or 4 years ago, and this guy comes in with this big truck. His name is Jeremiah Dubé. We had a candid conversation. I was like, dude, you need to come over for dinner. It was cool. I got a wife and a newborn kid, Lizzie Ann. Their sweet little girl was, I think, not even 1 at the time. Invite him over for dinner. And I've got some pictures of me on the wall and the deployment in 09. And he looks at the wall and he goes, Andy, you're the damn recon guy that got medevaced off our deployment? I said, Jay, yeah, that was me. We've had a good relationship since then. He was the public affairs officer on I don't know if you knew the name Jeremiah Dubé.
I know.
Sweet guy, half Hawaiian, half Mexican, but he went to Marja on our deployment where we thought we were going. But we got a good nucleus of people. Met this kid it's funny. Took the wife in Phoenix to a place called MTX. It's a little kid's playground. And the guy that owns it is Doug Ramos. And he introduced himself. He's like you, squirrely, cerebral.
I like to prefer aerodynamic, but that's okay.
Whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying. But anyways, we ended up making a very good relationship. Kara and Phoenix did not like Doug, and that's okay, but now they do. But I have a breakfast every Tuesday morning that I invite tons of veterans from the gym, Lifetime. So we keep a good veteran community for that nucleus of support. Because, veterans get together, they can have stories and conversations that you can't have with, the average Joe or Schmo. And people at St. Jude, my first job, my main guy that I worked with was a tanker in the Army. He went to West Point and everything like that. So we always find the core nucleus of people that have shared some of our similar traits and backgrounds. And that has always been a nucleus of support for me, and I will never lose that. I mean, at breakfast, we have people that are 76 that come to those breakfasts, people that are my age. It's just an outlet for people to come and be men.
Do you, I think I know the answer to this, but I want to hear it from you. Do you have any reservations about sharing your opinions on sobriety with those that you interact with?
Not at all. I don't necessarily... It's not something that I talk openly about, but if it's, I don't hide from it.
Not necessarily the vulnerability within yourself, but for example, look, you know full well what the culture is in the military, and especially in units that you and I served in, right? So you immerse yourself in a lot of social situations with other vets, and I guarantee that those...
I know where you're going with this, and what I see for a lot of times is people won't come to that realization that they have a problem. And that's a crutch. I just tell them my story.
You do.
Because if you look at the story, I had all the same symptoms.
Yeah.
Wouldn't give it up. Crutch. But the point that I made earlier, when I realized and came to accept that something was owning my ass as hard as it was, as booze and drugs was, that's when the switch flipped for me. Now, that might not happen. If somebody's not a type A personality for me, that might not work. But no, I'll have the conversation with anybody that has an addictive personality, especially the military and the veterans, 100%. And I might tell them not to be a bitch. Like, don't let something own you. Like it did me.
Is that where the relentless drive of Onward comes from?
Reference what?
In your book. Onward.
The last statement, Onward? Yep. No, it's just life is a blessing, and it's fantastic. Every day I get to wake up, I smile, and I'm happy that I'm here because everything that I've been through. Onward means just get to the next battle, the next fight, the next kid's game, the next date with the wife. Enjoy this time while we have because it's so short and fleeting.
I think there's a lot of people who struggle with connecting that bridge between suffering with addiction and seeing where the lifeline beyond addiction is, and making that connection is very, very difficult.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
And for you, as your individual journey has had faith interwoven throughout the entirety of it, but there's a lot of people who don't. And how do you, when talking to folks, separate the two when it comes to sobriety? Can you have sobriety without the other? Without
a support nucleus?
Without faith-based sobriety.
Yes. So listen, I'm going to be candid and honest here. The founding fathers of AA were 100% religious and believed in Christ. However, they were smart. They knew they would push a ton of people away if they didn't make it agnostic. Mm-hmm. So that's what they did. Their thing is believe in a higher power.
Got it.
Not God, not Jesus. And they don't like you to talk about those things because it will turn a lot of people off. The whole essence of AA is to give you the steps and the tools to get sober and free and clear of the beast that is alcoholism.
Do you think that your sobriety was a result of where you were at your point in life, or do you think it was because of the program that you started when sobriety happened? Because you went to three other rehabs prior to this, and none of them worked.
It was rehabs, and it was a lot of relationships that came to fruition. My father-in-law and him introducing me to Grave Street. Me meeting Jason Taylor that day. Me meeting Eddie O'Rourke, who's an 86-year-old former boxer in the Marine Corps. And just the family and people that I met at Grave Street. And no, I was done at that time frame, but I needed the program and the steps to be delivered to me the way they were that Jason did.
And so if I can parrot something that you said, maybe it was done for a reason. Maybe it was played out the way it was supposed to play out.
I'm happy it did, because my son was just about to be born. And that was a crescendo for me. Like, I had to get my stuff straight because we're about to be raising a child. And that was the variable that I had to get my crap straight. And I'm thankful for that. And that was, in my honest belief, a very, you don't want to use a kid or the birth, the miracle of life.
Well, that sobers up a lot of men when they realize that they're going to be a father.
It's an awesome reality.
Yeah.
And Phoenix is a handful.
No,
6 broken bones and 3 sets of stitches. He's a knucklehead.
Yeah.
But he's the sweetest kid in the world. He's a blast.
He's
me all over again.
Does your wife share the same level of faith that you do?
Oh, yes. So she comes from a very Christian family. Her mother, sweet Bridget, and Stan, very Christian. Stan holds a prayer group with his guys from his church. And again, he introduced me to Steve Meeks and Grave Street, which I am eternally grateful for, because that was the impetus that got me to where I'm at today.
Yeah.
Which is to be free and clear. And it's a miracle for a drunk like me.
Well, I think it's a miracle, first off, that you survived cancer 6 times. By the way, we never did find out where the 4th bout of cancer came from, afflicted, recovered from. But you describe it in the book.
I'm sorry, guys.
No, it's totally okay, because I know it's in there, and it is an incredible story.
Right. Yeah, it was a compared to a lot of these in the seizure and whatnot, it was a very small one. But
I think that a lot of people probably would be willing to give you a break based off the number of cancer episodes that you recovered from if you were continually self-medicating. So in the midst of everything that took place, the chaotic life, the deployments, and cancer, most people would probably give you a pass. And you didn't give yourself a pass. So the fact that you are on the other side of this, 8 years sober, I think there's a lot to say. I think there's a lot to say for that. I think it speaks to your resiliency. It speaks to your character. It speaks to your faith. I think it speaks to
and
serendipity.
Also the second part of this book, my friend.
Yeah.
It's the grace of God, because He still has a reason for me to be here, to try to bring as many people as I can over to Him in the way of life that has enabled me to get here.
So is that what's next for Andy? Is that what you would?
I would like it to be.
Yeah,
because you're very well versed in your podcast and what you talk about on a daily basis with the theaters and everything that's ongoing.
Sure.
It's getting a very dark world. So you have to have a bigger belief than yourself. Family is a very good core nucleus to have, but what's next?
For you, I think if I understood our conversations previously correctly, you're looking to write another book.
I don't think I want to write another book, but I'd like to engage conversation with people and try to help as many people, number one, get clean and sober for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And also to try to bring as many people over to Christianity that I can.
I know that there's some anecdotes that were not discussed today. We'll leave those for the book. There's probably some ones that didn't make it into the book as well. But I don't think the lessons are any less relevant because they weren't told. What if you do tell your story, if you could sum up the book in one sentence, what would it be?
One sentence. Never stop believing in yourself. Never stop believing in the gift that God has given you, and always fight for another day.
There's not a lot of people that I would consider still in my circle. You and I treaded a lot of the ground together, during the workups, during a deployment, during, training for combat operations. It didn't happen, but it didn't make it any less arduous. So,
me being a new captain to a new platoon in recon and having to deal with your notoriety. Come on, man.
Yeah.
I'll take a little bit of credit there.
That does actually bring up a question that I would sort of want to ask you straight away. What do you think a good leader's playbook is? I'll ask it a different way because I don't like the way I phrase that.
Sure.
This is kind of pat, but what makes a good leader in your mind?
For me, it's what I learned and took to grain in TBS. It's a servitude mindset.
Interesting.
the men, the women, and the mission come first.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys eat first. If there's not enough food for us, we don't eat, and that's okay. It literally comes down to your welfare and the mission at hand, and that's what it's about. Nothing else, not the superfluous shit that you need as an officer or whatnot. Who cares? It's literally about your well-being, and that's why when we talked about it, about the Kuwait training, why did I stick in and stick with it? Because we had the possibility of going to Marja, and that was at the forefront of my mindset. And I wanted to make sure that the men had every bit of training and were capable of performing the mission that we were set up to do. And that's why I pushed it to that limit. And it wasn't about me. It was about you guys in the platoon and the mission.
I think we absolutely did some hard training, and we probably did hard training at the expense of their quality of life in some cases, but I don't have any regrets.
No, and I think the final mission when we did that night live fire raid, I think all the men, especially Sean, who was the one with the impetus for getting that set up.
Yeah.
But the coordination that took to get the outside agency, the air assets, because the MEU were Peckerwoods and wouldn't support recon in our endeavors and what we wanted to do, which is why I went over and knocked doors and got us some air assets. But
yeah, there was a lot of fighting that took place to get a lot of the training that we did.
Well, we got it done.
We did. And I wouldn't change anything, even if we had to go back and do it all over again, with the exception of losing the engine. I wouldn't change anything.
100%. But I will tell you, the icing on the cake was Colonel, not Minnick, that was another colonel I worked for, Andy Wilcox, when he said, your guys' like fire and maneuver was so impressive, and he's an infantry battalion commander.
Right.
To tell us, to give us kudos on that.
Yeah.
Our boys were well trained, and they did, and they executed it fantastically.
One of the things I appreciated about your leadership style, and I think one of the reasons why you and I got along so well professionally, was you had faith and confidence in me and the men under you to execute your intent without the micromanaging. A person like me, I thrive in a laissez-faire style of leadership, which is, kind of trust but verify. And this is the end state. And however you decide to reach it is up to you, as long as it gets done. And I'll check in with you. And if you have any questions, check in with me. That works extraordinarily well when you're dealing with subject matter experts, and you recognize that. And I will never take that for granted. And I've said thank you before. I'll say thank you in the moment. Thank you for allowing me to have that freedom.
Well, brother, I appreciate that as well. But what I liked is that I was able to come in and take care of the macro, the big type pieces, planning and coordination of the operations. You took care of the minute details that came down to operations with the men and the skill sets that they had and that you had over 20 years of knowledge in the reconnaissance community. So I was just exploiting your guys' skill sets and training that you already had. And thank you for allowing me to do that.
But it takes a while. I mean, for those that may not know, the leadership of a platoon is usually handled by two individuals, one senior enlisted, one senior officer, and they work in tandem. But that relationship takes trust, and it takes experience, and it takes confidence, and it doesn't always work.
Nope.
Because God knows your only stint, and I say only, I don't mean to couch it that way, but you did
You can't hurt my feelings. I don't have them, bro.
Oh, I love it. Single deployment as a platoon commander. Is that correct?
Only leadership position I truly had in the Marine Corps was the Alpha 1 reconnaissance with you guys.
And I have had 5 Marine Expeditionary Unit deployments and a whole host of non-MEUs, seen a ass load of platoon commanders, and not many performed the way that you did, and not many had the leadership that you did. So that's not me being sycophantic because you're sitting across the table. I'd say that, for 2,500 miles away. So, it worked out. It worked out well.
Love you, buddy.
Addiction is a theme throughout the book. Overcoming addiction is the lessons learned. By your own admission, once an addict, always an addict.
Yep.
You have substituted, I'm going to phrase it the only way that I know how, safer addictions than the self-destructive ones that you recovered from. Say it a different way if you don't like that,
No,
but answer me this. What addictions did you replace the destructive ones with? Because there's healthy addictions.
No, and fair enough. I'm a huge fan of serotonins and endorphins, the chemicals that are released from strength training. It's my release to get to the gym every day. I can go in pissed off, angry at the world. I can leave woosah. And it's because it's those chemicals that are released. My beautiful mother, sweetheart, was addicted to nicotine for 45 years, smoked cigarettes, and I got that same addiction.
Yeah.
And to this day, I got over Copenhagen snuff, which is a carcinogen, 6 years ago, and now I just use the nicotine pouches. But yeah, I'm still an addict with that.
Yeah.
I
I know what it's like,
like
with the. Go ahead. Sorry.
I don't know.
I
You're
know
good.
I'm talking
I
over
like
you.
good food like you,
Yeah.
but I also understand my caloric intake and how my body looks, and so I'm very studious about making sure that my levels are the right levels. But yeah, addictive mindset will always be prevalent in me. I just got to check it with certain things and how I do them.
I've talked at length in lectures about managing adrenaline. You clearly have an adrenaline addiction. I know what it looks like because I have one as well, especially when it comes to speed. I love to go fast. If I had the access to an F-18, I would probably be up in it every day because that is in a tremendous rush.
Well, I will tell everybody, I didn't know that Teslas could get as fast as they went on our drive here from the airport or how fast they are.
Yeah.
Teslas go really darn fast and they maneuver very well. Thank you to Brad, the Colbert
Yeah.
Iceman.
Oh God, I can't stop it. Yeah.
Elon Musk, here's a tout to you, but that's a pretty damn cool car. Like seriously, how quick the pickup is and how quickly it got to 100. And I'm not going to say what we got it.
Yeah. It is quick, a 0 to 60 in 3 and change.
Yeah. That's all we made it to.
Yeah. Adrenaline has the potential to be self-destructive. In a lot of individuals, it becomes self-destructive. Clearly, you are on the other side of a lot of these issues. And a lot of things that we have addictive or are vices, they're not problems until they become a problem.
Yep.
And so I think that a lot of Marines and a lot of military people have this background level of addiction that is almost socially acceptable. And it's not really an issue until there's a spike. Either there's a DUI or there's a domestic violence or there's, popped for drugs or something of that nature.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, thankfully, neither of those two occurrences will happen in my life because I've been free and clear of my alcohol and drugs for 8 years, God willing, Cinco de Mayo. And I think I've said this before, but there's a direct correlation. My sweet boy, Phoenix, will be 8 in July 5th, and I have 8 years sober May 5th.
I think that's
that's
a
amazing. gift from the God, the Father above.
It is. There is a culture in the military of a work hard, play hard attitude. And it's almost, as I've said before, socially acceptable to get absolutely annihilated, wake up the next morning and still be expected to perform 100%. And it's kind of just taken for granted that that's how it happens now, but that's starting to change.
Good.
When I was in the Marine Corps, I enlisted when I was 21, so I could already drink, but the drinking age on base was 18. It was almost institutionally encouraged to go out there and raise hell as long as you could still hang. Do you think that that culture has contributed towards a disproportionately high rate of alcoholism and self-medication in the military?
That's something for people that are much smarter than us.
You're smart enough, though.
I know. I mean, possibly, yes, because there was a lot in the officer corps. Can you hang? Can you drink all night and get up and still work? Even in college when doing ROTC, one night we had a 3-mile or 6-mile run the next morning, and we were the leaders because we were seniors, and I was up all night drinking, doing drugs, and I left at 5 in, took some medication, you know what I mean, and went and did the ruck. And when I got done, I got in the van to take my ass home because I was done. And that's idiotic and stupid, but we're young, dumb, and you know what the next thing is that I'm not going to say. But it's a little bit of bravado, and at certain ages, 20s and 30s, you want to grab onto that and go with it.
Yeah.
But now as an older, a little bit wiser of an individual, I just look back at us like we were idiots.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I lived through it.
There was definitely some instances where I was lucky that I was not caught or that I was not hurt with some of the choices that I made at an earlier age. A lot of it involved speed, but there were some drinking instances as well.
Yeah. It's like rites of passage, people will say, to get through some of those scenarios. Thankfully that we both did, Brad. You know?
Yeah, it did.
So
I think it's a different generation that's currently on deck. I think there's a different attitude towards it. There's an abstention from a lot of these vices. I think there's still an adrenaline thread running through a lot of the military, but there is not the same culture of play hard, work hard than there was
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's called
I don't
growth and
disagree.
progression,
Yeah.
right?
I don't disagree. But it's also working directly against human nature, as you said. You know, when the target demographic for the enlisted, you know, it's 18 to 24. That's the prime spot where most young men and women are looking to carpe diem, sow their oats. So it's interesting culturally. It seems, my vantage point anyways, that it's sort of two competing things.
I have to throw in a comedic routine here.
Sure.
YOLO. I just want to smack the
I
young,
fucking
the
hate
young
that.
generation that
Yeah.
says that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's because you don't understand, dipshit. Carpe diem.
Well, I mean,
Or
youth
you
is
never learned
wasted.
it.
Youth is wasted on the young.
It
Yeah.
was wasted on me, and it was wasted on your youth.
Oh, yeah. I definitely lived my youth every ounce. It is a miracle that I am not dead. I will tell you that. Or in jail.
Let me tell you, 2 peas in a pod, my friend.
Yeah.
But I'm blessed. But for me and my belief system, he's got me here for a reason. I truly believe that is to bring my story, your story, and more like it, to bring as many people close to the saving grace that is his son that died on the cross for us.
I appreciate it. I
No worries,
absolutely
mate.
do.
I'm
Yeah.
thankful we're both still here to share our stories.
Telling stories. There's lots of stories in the book about our platoon, its workup, its operations, its deployment. I mean, and it's like a trip down memory lane for me because a lot of this stuff I had just simply forgotten. You have a meticulous level of detail in there. So my hat is off to you. I know you worked on it for over a decade, so you had time to find these details. But
And
the
jokes.
one thing that I was embarrassed to be reminded about was the loss of a piece of equipment that took place during the workup cycle. I'm going to let you tell the story.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You're an asshole.
Well, you were the one that was in the boat. And
I
I was
was
in my
the
own boat.
So we're doing an insert mission for our 3 teams to go do some RNS, reconnaissance and surveillance. I think it was along Blue or Red Beach on Camp Pendleton. Got in our 3 Zodiac boats. We leave the Bonhomme Richard. We called it the Dick. Driving our Zodiac boats, we got some pretty decent surf. I don't know, 5 or 6 foot. The boats are bouncing up. You
There's
hear
a little
the
bit of
transoms
swells,
on the
yeah.
ocean, but we've got mechanisms involved to tie down and ratchet the engines to the back of the Zodiac boats. I think 20 minutes in, I hear a clinking. I look back and I see my 55 horsepower Johnson in the ocean. And I go to grab the chain that is supposed to be connected to it so we can pull it right back up. That's not even connected. So Davy Jones gets a 55 horsepower engine at that point.
How much was it? How much money did that engine cost?
Doesn't cares about the money.
Oh, I know how much money
At that
it
point in
cost.
time, though, what was most important in our hands, are we going to complete the mission? And you and
Yeah.
I had a distinct conversation, and here's where you take over,
Yeah.
and you became the prudent individual.
I said we need to continue on with the mission because going back with another failure is going to be worse than just cracking on and we'll sort out the engine later.
And that's where the young captain took his advisement, and it was probably the smartest thing that we did that night. But we hooked that boat up to the other 2 boats.
Yeah.
Took the teams into the beach. They inserted. We took all the gear out of that boat. Did we break it down?
We rolled it up,
and put it
put
in
it inside one of the boats, which now didn't have any of our Marines in it.
Yep.
And we finished the exfiltration. But there was blowback from
Fallout.
that. Yeah.
We get back. We have to tell Colonel Andy Wilcox and Major Ogden that we lost the engine. But up to this point in the workups, we had built a lot of capital with the BLT, the Battalion Landing Team, Wilcox and Ogden, and they kind of brushed it off. And I got a nip lock, a non-putative lever of caution, which is a very simple thing. It's a piece of paper that says, hey, you screwed up. But the battalion, our Mama Battalion, Patrick Henry, our company commander, and who's the dude that had 9 toes? He lost one of his toes in Fan and Fury.
Yeah.
He was there, and he reported back to our battalion. So Henry had a meeting with me one day, and he came up to me and goes, Andy, I think Brad needs to be relieved of command. And I was honest with him. I said, absolutely not, Pat. If you want to relieve anybody, you can relieve me. It's my platoon. We fucked up, so what do you want to do? He goes, okay. He walked away. We just had the nip lock, and we moved on with our deployment. But it was a shitty disposition.
Yeah,
I'm thankful that we still were able to carry on with the mission, and we still got a lot of accolades from the battalion for what we did in Kuwait throughout the whole deployment.
Yeah.
So kudos to you for everything that you did operationally for the boys.
It was a team effort. Yeah, I had a private conversation with Henry, then Captain, me, Gunny. It was a one-sided conversation where I got quite a stern talking to, and he was clearly displeased. And look, this has been, God, over a decade of time has elapsed, so I
Almost
bear
two,
no
baby.
ill will. But yeah, it was one of the few times in my life that I was really called on the carpet, and I was not happy about it. I was not.
You wanted to end Kano's life as I did,
Oh yeah, yeah.
but ultimately it was our responsibility, buddy.
It is for everything that happens or fails to happen.
Yep.
The buck definitely stopped with us, and so I
We owned it.
understood. Yeah, we owned it, but it was the only thing that took place that was negative across the entire deployment. Other than that, it was fantastic. There's a tremendous amount of
Why I'm
training.
happy, the only thing that came out of it was a nip lock.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other than the, what do they call him? My brother-in-law who fought with him has a funny name for him. He got shit on. 9 toes. They called him like gnarly or something foot because he got one of his toes blown off. It's a
Yeah.
minor flesh wound.
But
That is a quote from what?
minor flesh wound.
Quest for the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
Monty Python's.
Yeah, it's the Black Knight.
Come back here. I'll bite your legs off.
You haven't got any arms. Right, I'll do you for that. A lot of people measure success based off external validation, and a lot of people measure success through altruism. Do you think that you favored the former or the latter? And is it the same to this day from when you started out?
How I measure success?
Mm.
No, with our platoon, it was our mission sets and what we had to accomplish. And
But prior to that, I mean, I'm talking all the way back from your entrance into college, throughout ROTC, through your
you know what?
commission.
I think as an immature young man, yes, I like the accolades of accomplishing something, like getting the NROTC scholarship. I did that all on my own. I wasn't looking for any accolades, but I had to do it. Parents weren't there. They were down in Augusta, Georgia. And then getting to school. And I mean, I always knew that I wanted to get good grades, so I put in the time and effort. It wasn't like they just came. You had to study, you had to figure it out, and you had to do well. But I never did it for approval for anyone else other than it was my internal drive to be successful at whatever I did. That was how
Right.
I was raised with good parents.
Yeah. It speaks to your work ethic as well, because a lot of people, especially in my experience, a younger generation, right? Every generation dumps on the previous one. I get it.
Yep.
It's
We all do.
passe. But the thing that I have seen is a work ethic that is driven by external validation instead of for its own sake, right? A virtue is its own reward.
Sure.
We should not strive to do a thing, like Stoicism says, because you want recognition for said thing. You do it because it is intrinsically just or right or moral. And I wanted to make certain, if I understood you correctly, that you have espoused that same philosophy, and you did then, and it hasn't changed till today. So how are you measuring success these days? Because you're kind of in a transitional period.
For me, it's being a good husband and a good father. And a buddy from AA, Mike Bryan, always says, do right, not wrong on a daily basis. And that's a very simple concept, right?
Yeah.
Do right, not wrong. That's it. And with the core values that I had in life with good parents and good people and friends that I've made, it's pretty easy to make that decision on a daily basis. Now, when I was young, dumb, and using, I made plenty of terrible decisions.
Right.
But now my barometer, my compass, so to speak, is pretty aligned with the right way to go. And I don't care about accolades, but I do care about accomplishing things for the betterment of my family and what I'm doing in life. Yeah. I'm going to fight as long as I have. And who knows if that's 5, 10, or 20 years.
Well, hopefully.
But I'm pretty damn stubborn.
It's long.
So it's going to be a while.
You are stubborn. And you're definitely going to fight
But
death.
the body's going to give up at some point, and that's fine.
You got time, especially with the attitude and drive that you have. I think you have.
I'm a stubborn son of a bitch just like my mother.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It'll serve you well.
I hope so. It served you well.
It has. Yes. There's definitely been a societal shift. And I think a lot of it has been positive, but we've lost something as well. There's been a negative as well.
It's like the young Marine at Camp Lejeune when he asked the Commandant, why has the Marine Corps become pussified?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why has the world become pussified?
I think that doing the hard things is no longer allowed.
Couldn't agree more.
Because and we can go back even before our generation, before our parents' generation, you look at the farmers that were raising crops during the Dust Bowl. That's a hard life, getting up early
Yep.
those type of conditions. And hard living breeds hard men. Soft living.
What is that mem on this? Hard times create
Yep. I know.
strong men. Strong men create good times. Good
Yep.
times create weak men. Weak time. Yeah.
Yeah. And
It's 100% true.
circle.
Yeah, but it's cycle over cycle over cycle of history.
No, I don't think we're going to get weaker as time goes on because it is a loop. It is a snake eating a tail. There's going to be an existential threat that is going to force the United States, or at least our culture, back into hard men.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not today. There's always an ebb and flow. Always.
Well, I'll be honest, and I was an asshole for a lot of years because I was always focused on what I wanted to accomplish. I mean, I always had very good core nucleus of friends. But in today's life that I live, my relationships are what bring my life joy. That's why I have the breakfast with the veterans of all varying ages. It's why 10 or 12 people at the gym come up and give me a hug every day because I'm very much more amicable and approachable, and to, share my life struggles and stories with people to hopefully benefit their walk. And people are generally rad. Sure, we come across some pretentious people that have no concept of being friendly to other human beings, but that's okay. They're kind of the anomaly. Most people generally want to be able to get along with others, and those that don't, bye. They don't have time for you. They don't want to waste time on you.
And a lot of psychologists say that your circle of friends, really, you can only have about 10 good friends.
Those lucky people like us that have that many, most people don't even have one or two.
Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah,
They really don't. Like my sweet wife, I mean, she's a great human being. She's got one friend up in Oklahoma that she went to college with, played volleyball or basketball with, and then one in Dallas, and that's it.
Yeah.
Try to introduce her to as many neighbors. Well, I mean, she's good. She gets along. I mean, she's a sales manager, for God's sakes.
Yeah, and that may be part of the reason why she doesn't, because she's has so many superficial interactions throughout the day.
That's what I love about Kara. She's more like a dude.
Yeah, nice.
Yes. She don't want to deal with those superfluous relationships or catty BS. And that's one thing that I love about the woman.
And really, you can only invest so much emotional energy into a few people, really deep connections, and the rest of them are on the periphery for the most part.
100%.
Yeah. I don't know if I keep in touch with, keep in touch with anybody from that. It's funny. I just had you don't know the gentleman because he was enlisted in the berthing with me, but his son, one of the gunnery surgeons that was with me on ship during our deployment, his son reached out to me and had some questions about military life in the Marine Corps.
Cool.
And I was like, how fucking old am I when this man's son is asking me a question like that?
But that's a good thing in credence to you as a man and you as a military guy and your experience.
I was very humbled to have been asked the question, and I will respond in its entirety. So
that's a good thing, bro.
Yeah. I thought that was good to hear. But I don't really think I've mentioned or spoken to anyone from that time frame.
Everett, for a while there on Facebook, he was sending me stuff.
That's true. Everett will still say happy birthday on the Marine Corps birthday.
I've tried to reach out to Jax, and then I told you Sean Reynolds.
Yeah.
He's coming over to dinner with his girlfriend.
Yeah, that's true. I think I spoke to, because I have spoken to Sean Reynolds on a few occasions. I did see Kano years later, not in the best of circumstances, but I did see him.
Little bitch.
And then I spoke to, there was somebody else that you just mentioned.
Bo.
No, it wasn't Bo. It'll come to me, but not a lot.
Not from Recon, but I do have a lot of good friends and mates, brother-in-law from TBS, best friends from TBS, and then a couple others that I talk to on a regular basis.
It's funny how you, in the moment, in that time and place, you'll die right next to that person.
Yep.
And then a year later, you may have forgotten what their name was.
Band of brothers.
It's kind of how it works. But if I was to see them right now, it'd be like, and no time has passed, and go right back to it.
Even these two knuckleheads, right? Within 24 hours, it's like I've known them for 10 or 15 years. That's an awesome reality.
Yeah.
And I like men that are like that.
but it is, yeah. And like dogs, you can instantly tell like, nah, I don't like you.
100
Or yeah, you're part of the pack. Come on over. Let's go hunt.
100%. That's
Yeah.
how it should be.
Yeah. You've explained to me about the Adderall
Yeah.
and basically the ADHD medication, but what else was there? Was there anything else?
Well, yeah. So going through cancer 4 times the brain, post my second stem cell transplant. No, my first one. So I got an oxycodone from my doctors because I needed it through a lot of the pain, but I was on it for 13 or 14 months. And when I finally came to the realization that I needed to stop, I was in Azle, Texas. And I decided one night I threw the bottle away and I was going to do it. What transpired was 8 days of night sweats. It was the hardest kick I've ever done in my life, but I made a decision that I was going to get through it and get to the other side. Now, I still had a bottle of wine every night to give me a little bit of edge off, but it took me literally 8 days of night sweats to get through it. And on the 8th day, and I woke up, the relief to be free of that drug, but that just was on me to figure it out. But
Yeah.
it was terrible. I mean, I met people in rehab and whatnot that are addicted to that stuff. They had to go to rehab to get off of it, and I can see why. 8 days of night sweats.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. Heroin
Brutal.
addicts, I mean, it's the closest thing to heroin. That's why I never even contemplated sticking a needle in my arm, because I would be dead not here. Because I'm an addict, unfortunately, but thankfully that the Father has been by my side and given me the strength to get through all these crazy addictions. Now I'm still an addict with my nicotine, but as I said before, my mother was an addict and that kind of got passed down.
Yeah.
But now I try to focus it on things that are beneficial to me outside of nicotine, like working out, eating right, and exercising. And I don't run anymore because of my heart degradation and my EF, so ejection fraction, how effectively our heart pumps. All of you young men is probably around 65 to 75%. Mine is 40 to 45%. That's how effectively the left ventricle pumps oxygenated blood into the body. But that's just a consequence of the chemo.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about this is I walk around aimlessly enough in a day to get my steps, so I'm good. The wife will validate that.
Yeah.
Andy, stop doing circles, honey. I'm just getting my steps.
Yeah.
Probably looking for something that I've misplaced 1,000 times during the day.
Yeah.
Short-term memory is not there.
The Europeans have a very different approach towards pain management than American medicine does. And there's been a lot of recent discussions about pain management and do we need to be prescribing anything? Is there other alternatives? Can we do other things? And really limiting the use of drugs like oxycodone and
100%. That's a lever that needs to be pulled and checked and put into play, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people haven't been through arduous dispositions. You have to build your barometer for it by going through those situations and dealing with the suck.
Yeah.
Like I did in Landstuhl, Germany. And that made me a stronger individual to deal with situations down the road.
Yeah.
But
absolutely agree.
Yeah. But addictions are terrible, and you got to find a program or somehow to get out of them and not be consumed by them. I'm just blessed that I was able to find the right sponsor and the right program and got out of it.
I love it.
Yes, sir. I should not be here, right? I don't say I have 9 lives. It's like 26.
It's a lot. Yeah. Without a doubt, bro. Because, even without the 6 cancers, the stem cells, all of the other instances, there's still a life lived hard.
Yep.
And so, yeah, definitely blessed.
I couldn't agree more. Thankful that he still has me here to make an impact is what I try to do on a daily basis. Right? Working in cardiology for St. Jude Medical, now Abbott Laboratories, my brain has come back to me and given me that remembrance. Thank you for that. I met a lot of really cool cardiologists, interventional cardiologists, and electrophysiologists. Yeah. And you just had to build a relationship with each and every one of them and see what their how they operated and what was important to them. There was plenty of cases where EPs would turn people's hearts on and off again just for a CPT code. What a CPT code is, a billable procedure that doctor can earn money. Some of them are shits, so to speak. They don't do the right things. But other doctors like Dr. Michael Isaac, who's a good buddy of mine to this day, is a fantastic interventional cardiologist and always took care of his patients and thought about them. But some doctors are terrible. And I will throw a joke out here, and I say it all the time. What's the difference between God and a doctor? God knows he's not a fucking doctor. And it's the truth for a lot of them, especially
Yeah.
EMPs, when you can turn people's hearts on and off. It's unfortunate reality, but there's a lot of great ones out there. But
So has it changed your perception of who an expert is?
as far as in the medical field,
Yeah.
no, I mean, it's an arduous disposition to earn an MD, right? Many, many years getting it. I mean, they earned it.
Yeah, but you have to be the best advocate for your own health, which means that
And
you advocate.
on multiple occasions
Yeah.
in Bethesda and Walter Reed Army Medical Center, they wanted to put me through radiation. My family talked to friends. My dad was a dentist, a doctor, and we talked to them, and it was unequivocally, no, you don't need to do radiation. The compounding effects of that, and thank God I never went through radiation.
Yeah.
No, and I say this, and people say this is kind of oxymoronic or counter, but I say there's no self-interest like self-interest. I mean, you've got to do the research and find the literature and find the individuals that have the requisite knowledge so you can make the best decisions going forward. And I've done that my whole life, and I will never stop doing that.
I agree.
And Dr. Ritchie, my oncologist for 10 or 12 years, great dude, works at MD and Anderson, and he saved my ass 4 times on the outside. So I've been blessed with a lot of good doctors around me. And Lieutenant Commander McMullen. It's funny. When I got done with my first battle, and I said I wanted to take this Omaya out, which is basically the metal port in my brain, I said, man, I want to get this nipple out of my head. Andy, I don't think that's really a smart idea. And she was a neurosurgeon. I'm thankful I listened to her and didn't ask her to take it out because I had brain cancer 3 more times.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, they're very intelligent individuals, and they have a hell of a lot more knowledge than we do. But at the end of the day, we're all human beings, and we're fallible, and we make mistakes. Everybody does.
Yeah.
Because hopefully it doesn't come too often at the
expense of the patient.
Exactly.
I don't know what it's like to have cancer. I can't even imagine what it's like to have it 6 times.
Mm-hmm.
And after the first time that you had brain cancer, I asked you a couple times, how long were you in remission? Do you have to get tested periodically? And you said you didn't, but in the physicals that you had to have in the Marine Corps and anytime you had labs done for any of that, you must have had some kind of anxiety about it. Did you constantly live with this sort of Damocles over your head about when is it going to happen again? Will it come back? And how did that affect you? I mean, how does that affect somebody's quality of life? I can't even imagine.
I mean, that's a profound question, and I'm trying to go back in the history of what I've been through. I can honestly say that during my battles, at the forefront of them, every time they manifested was beat it, let's get through to the other side. And along the way, I have never thought about, when will it come back? I have just gone till the symptoms have popped up again.
Really?
Yeah. I've never dwelled self-pity on the crap that I've been through. I mean, it sucks. I had some of the coolest damn jobs I've ever had in my life taken away from me. I mean, I wanted to be Top Gun, and it was ripped from me. But I figured out what was next. What was my next goal, and what was I going to try to attain? I mean, maybe you call that selfish, but fuck you.
No, I don't think it's selfish
Not you.
at all.
I'm just saying that people that see it that way.
Absolutely. But I mean, there's a tremendous amount of resilience. And again, I go back to you're unique for many reasons. Your story is unique for many reasons. And the lessons that come from that, I think, are important. And I think that they're powerful. And I think that the message can help others as well.
I have to throw this in there. And I don't like, because the movie, it's about a female going through buds. But,
I know the movie.
But there's an instructor that he looks down at the individual going through buds. Are you hurt or are you injured? Right?
Yeah.
If you're hurt, you can push through. If
Sure.
you're injured, like you've broken a leg or broken an arm, you can't go on.
Yeah.
I've kind of tried to employ that philosophy through these circumstances and arduous dispositions. And for a lot of times, man, I've been more than hurt. But I just kept battling and fighting to get to the other side. That has been how I've operated. And never giving up.
Yeah.
Except that one time in Germany when I was a little bitch, or so to speak, and I looked at my mom and said, I'm done. But
so 6 times, do you think there's going to be a 7th?
If it happens, but here's the thing that I know about through the past 20 years. The treatment works. There's an answer.
Yeah.
But what I'm very thankful for is my sobriety and because I was compromising my immune system every day. Now I'm not, and I try to build my body up as much as I can. So if it does come back, and I wish I had the shirt because I brought it, but I wrote this I did this blog during my battle in 2012, and a bunch of friends from college ran the mud run for me. And it talked about cancer, your act is cowardly. I will continue to battle until until you fight me again and again. And that's what I'll always put to it. Yeah, if it comes back, it comes back, but there's treatment and it's available for me. And the secondary consequences that I'm dealing with, whatever.
Yeah.
As long as I wake up each morning and get another shot at this fight, I'm smiling and I'm happy, and it's okay.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I really do.
I try to make the wife happy. And I screw that up on a daily basis. She'll validate for it. But I try to be a nice guy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's certain things that we have the ability to do right, and there's certain things that just are going to play out the way they play out. So
no, but I do have a very sweet woman for a wife who was raised very well, so I should.
Good.
Yes.
So once again, the book is Living Hard, Saved by His Grace by Andrew Priddy. It is available on Amazon. Fantastic read. I actually have read it twice, once with the pre-release manuscript and then once the printed copy. So check it out. And until next time, I am Brad Colbert, the Iceman, reminding all of you to stay frosty.
Improvise, adapt, and overcome.